Chapter 35 Finals, Part 2. This is the second chapter that comes to you by the good graces of Alex Marzon at Drthrottledger on Discord. There are a bunch of important notes at the end of the chapter. Fuss ro. These words that turn the voice into raw power, pushing aside anything or anyone who stands in its path. They were not the complete shout, they missed the last word, da, which meant push. Fuss means force, ro means balance. The three words altogether would unleash a mighty force that would push away anything and anyone like a blast. Yet, John only used the first two words for two reasons. The first reason is, the first two words are enough. The might of the three words together in real life is too much different than what was in the game. The first word can push an adult man across a room, the second will send him flying for a short distance, yet the third word may actually kill a man. The third word itself carried much more power than all the other two words, that it would send a man flying like a rag doll, and might break his body, or cause him to hit something really hard. It shouldn't really kill a man if only he was lucky enough or strong enough. The second reason was that John couldn't master the third word yet. He could comprehend the words of power because he saw them, and he could understand their meaning due to the experience of playing the game. He knew all the shouts from the game, yet mastering only two words in 1 year was his limit. Even the hero of the game could master only one word per fulfilling a certain condition. These were his reasons for not using da. He couldn't, and if he could he may have killed these opponents. The power was unleashed from John, who was only 3 meters away from his opponents. This distance was enough for him to devastate them from this distance. Julma was the closest to the shout, and she was being pushed away with its power. Holman was just beside her, fending against John's fire Atronak. He was completely exposed from his side, and was caught off guard too. Rusning, who just blasted Battleborn away, could see what was happening, yet he couldn't go anywhere. His power was depleted, and was staggering even before the shout could reach him. On the spectators' side, Scotty, Bjorna and Sviti were screaming alongside the other spectators. Around the arena, the mages who were maintaining the ward barrier couldn't just leave the barrier and run. All they could do was to close their eyes and crawl ready for impact. The participants' seats were no better. John was facing them, so they felt like the shout was actually heading for them and starting jumping away. The VIP area, as usual, suffered the most. Elisif was completely on Torig's lap. Idgrod, for the first time around people, looked surprised. Ulfric rushed and stood at the rail ahead of the VIP area, holding onto it. The other Jarls suffered again from the same damn youth, who always made their hearts jump, yet this time was the hardest surprise. This was just too absurd. Most of the people heard the legends about the words of power, the voice, the Thursdayum, the ancient language of the dragons. Few people understand that power, fewer witnessed it. It was noted that last time the Thursdayum was used in battle was at 4 times 10 to the power of -176 at the Forsworn Rebellion, when the city of Markarth fell to the natives of the Reach. At that time, Jarl Ulfric Stormcloak led a band of Nord warriors and retook the city from the natives. This happened during the Great War. The man himself was present and witnessed the shout of John being performed in front of him. He was the only voice master known under High Hrothgar, but now there are 2. The time that stopped in the minds of many people started to flow again, and the results of the shout were vividly seen. Julma and Holman were flying back. Rusning was a bit away from the center of the force unleashed, so he only fell hard on the ground and rolled back. As Julma and Holman fell down, the force wave continued to advance and hit the barrier, dispelling a part of it and sending the mages to their knees. Then the wave was depressed after its power was depleted. Team Aracana Wisdom, which was finally starting to take advantage in battle with the heavy price of 2 of its members, was devastated beyond recovering. Julma and Holman were on the ground unconscious. Rusning, whose power was depleted due to physical and magical exhaustion, was still conscious but was panting for breath. On the other side, Battleborn was eliminated. Wulfr was not able to move due to strong frost damage, and John was sitting on the ground while panting from exhaustion. all the Atronachs were dispelled. The judge was not planning to enter any time soon, but few brave healers ran in to check on the unconscious and ran out carrying them. That was crazy. Rusning said was panting and moving his body. He could stand in a staggering pose. This was really good, he said. He took in deep breath and looked at John. I am not done yet, a mage is always prepared. As he finished saying that, he took out few papers from his robe. John's eyes shrunk. These were scrolls and he could barely stand up now. Scrolls are magical documents that can be used to cast spells. Anyone can use a scroll, regardless of magic skill, and casting a scroll does not use any magicka. However, each scroll can only be used once. Now, Rusning was having 4 scrolls in his hands. He took one and opened it with hand speed and skill, then fire could be seen on his hand. He did that, then cast the spell all in 1 second. A ball of fire flew toward John, which appeared to be a fireball spell. It flew with speed at John, who was defenseless at this moment. He tried to call his quadrant ward, yet it takes time to switch between spells. John's eyes were on the fast spell that was about to hit him the next second. Suddenly a shadow covered him, a shadow so big that it covered all the light of day that fell on him. This was John's #1 partner in crime and his right-hand man, Wulfr, making his coolest entrance ever. He stood in front of John, then positioned his large shield, the high dam, and with it, he took the spell head-on. The explosion could be heard and Wulfr shouted from the power carried by it. He looked at John and shouted, I can take this BA***************** RD for a couple more times, hurry up and finish him. John was in a daze from what he saw, yet he got himself together and cast a spell he could cast in his state towards the sky. A spectre bird flew from it as the second impact arrived. Wulfr shouted from the pain again. Rusning was no polite to the friends of yesterday at all. He could see John running out from the cover of the shield and aimed the 3rd fireball at him. A large blast occurred, as it seemed that Rusning added some of his last magicka to empower the spell. He was waiting to see the result. Wulfr was blasted away by the spell and fell unconscious to the side. Through the fire of the explosion, a figure jumped, making his arm into X shape to protect his face. His eyes were as that of a wild beast that was unleashed at a prey, and his smile was wide and full of madness. Now the confrontation was only between John and Rusning. John started running right in a straight line towards Rusning, not thinking of dodging anything. Rusning was readying himself to fire the last scroll right at the madly advancing John. It was the last hit of the match. John was using his body as the last resort he can use right now. The after effect of using the Thursdayum was making it hard for his mind to control his magicka or make another spell. On the other hand, Rusning was firing his last bullet at the opponent who was advancing. Rusning and John were smiling from the thrill. Rusning shouted, "Ha ha! Come at me!" He was about to fire his spell directly at John. John was not showing any sign of defending, as if he would run through it. The spell was just about to leave from Rusning's hand at the closest distance he can afford to not harm himself, yet something happened. A bird. No, a spectral falcon appeared from the side of Rusning and caught his stretched hand that was about to shoot the spell and pulled it away. The spell was fired, yet to complete a different direction from where it should be aimed at. Hitting the spectral falcon with his other hand, Rusning saw something not too good for him. John was already 2 meters ahead of him and was flying. John a few seconds ago controlled the familiar her conjured behind Wulfr while charging at Rusning and disturbed the scroll he was about to cast. John reached a good point, jumped with 2 legs and rotated himself midair. His legs were facing Rusning and were ready to kick. He let himself get closer and kicked with all his might at Rusning. Even though Rusning was a Nord and had a strong body, he was a mage who didn't train physically that much. As he received the kick, he was launched away by it. Both boys fell with no strength after the last exchange. They officially arrived at their limit. The people were standing on The VIPs were standing. The judge didn't really want to go in the arena, but he was glared at by everyone. The 3 boys on the arena were lying down and not moving. The judge ran in with healers behind him. The nearest one was Wolfer. The judge checked on him and signaled that he was unconscious. Next was Rusning, who was lying on his front, and John, who was lying on his back. The judge reached Rusning and signaled he was unconscious. Team White Wolves fans cheered, yet the team was not out of the woods yet. The judge headed to John. If John was unconscious, then this match may end as a draw. This will break the hearts of many fans. The judge reached John and was about to check on him. Suddenly John, who was lying on his back, raised his upper half in a sat while looking around. The judge was frightened and screamed in an embarrassing voice. John and the healers looked at the man with strange eyes. The judge made Andy hem, and looked at Viarmo and signaled. Viarmo cleared his throat and said, "I hereby declare Team White Wolves the victors of this match. First thing, thank you guys for the amazing support you have shown. Second, it's about the name of the novel. I feel that it's not attraction people or the competition started becoming much more heated with the other novels. Last week we were on the top 20, now we are not. It really is important for me and I want more people to get attracted to it. I know my naming skill is horrible. I am an author who uses name generator after all. So, I was thinking of renaming the novel, something that can make people more attracted to it, not just as a fanfiction they mostly are not familiar with, but as something that make their eyes shine once they see it. Something with the word Dragonborn would be good, so I'll ask both suggestions here and on Discord. Last thing, it is about a suggestion I received on Discord. We have an image section that we post imaginary stuff about the novel, such as how the character look like and that. Now I think if any of the readers has any good drawing skill, they can draw us something like the legendary axe that John sketched at chapter 13. We want to start with that. It will make the novel much more fun and will give the people inspiration about how active and friendly we are on this novel. Thank you, remain supportive, and hail Lord Dragonborn. Chapter 36, Making Preparations. It was loud how people cheered after that match. Both teams showed the spirit and mindset of true warriors. With seedlings like these, Skyrim will have a glorious era of warriors. Every year the competition of the King's Tournament would bring out the best of the best in Skyrim, but this year didn't just bring out just that. This year each force was going all out with its seedlings, and they were all very talented and unique fighters with various skills and charismatic auras. They possessed the features of the leaders as they showed valor, honor, compassion, generosity and wisdom in every showdown they performed in. Standing on the top of the future generation, a boy whose talent was just too shaking. He was the best performance and many people argued about his talent. Some people even wanted to push him out of the tournament, yet it was not possible. His background was scarier than ever. An arch-wizard was his adoptive mother and many people supported him too. Clan Battleborn threatened the whole big shots of the tournaments that they will react if their son John Battleborn or any of his teammate were so much touched with harm outside the arena. And finally, the most mysterious Clan Firemane announced their sponsorship for the team. All these reports were revised again on the hearing of the High King and the 8 Jarls. This was the Blue Palace, and specifically, in the throne room, High King Torrig sat hearing from his steward Falk Firebeard, who was reading a report loudly in the presence of all Jarls to hear. So the Firemanes broke the long silence. They took their time. A womanly voice sounded in the room. It was Jarl Layla Lawgiver commenting. This clan just doesn't like to get involved with power and politics. If that was the case, Winterhold would have been rebuilt long time ago. Jarl Career of Winterhold spoke. You damn fool, Winterhold once was a major city in Skyrim. A major city, I tell you. Yet with all the power you can muster you just sit your sorry *s in your longhouse crying about the past, rebuilding nothing, and leave us to worry about people escaping from your hold. Scald the Elder replied to Career. and all he does every meeting is to complain about how the mages caused the downfall of his city. Also, what can this Firemane clan do? Jarl Igmund of Markarth said. The damn mages were the cause, and history will prove it. Jarl Career couldn't take it and stood. Also, Clan Firemane was no ordinary clan. They survived the Great Collapse and thrived away from Winterhold afterwards. All we know about them is little, yet they never were people of many words. They are true Nords who hold to the old traditions very deeply, and they never forsook the worship of Talos, which meant they have a deep animosity with the Thalmor. Jarl Balgruuf said, I had few dealings with them myself, and they are the most honest mount traders in Skyrim, as everyone know. Their trade is taming. I heard they can communicate with beasts like the old Atmarans, all that make little care to us anyway. All we know, they are rich and powerful. Jarl Dengir of Stun, Jarl of Falkreath said. He was the Jarl of Falkreath before Jarl Sigir. In a previous chapter 1 wrote that Sigir was the Jarl, but I was wrong and edited it. Sigir only became a Jarl just before the Civil War. Their name held meaning for a long time, we know of that. Torrig finally spoke. All we are concerned about is how not to get ourselves in trouble with them, and with that headache going on. But the people I want to hear their opinion the most are Jarl Ulfric and Jarl Idgrod. As Torrig said that, Ulfric, who was thinking, looked at the other Jarls, then sighed out. He was a middle-aged man with brown long hair and circle beard. He was the current living hero of Skyrim, and one of the most distinguished figures that younger generations looked up to. He spoke with his strong voice. About the background of the boy is nothing I care about. That clan that sponsors him surely is strong, and their words can affect many Jarls. He said, what I am concerned about what this boy is capable of. His talents are by now the most shocking among all his peers. His magic, even to the eyes that can't understand magic, it looked grand and deep. His martial arts are of a level beyond what we know of. They are very showy, yet I wouldn't want to go against them on equal terms. But all that matters less when we talk about his voice. All the Jarls nodded to what Ulfric said. I wanted to fight you guys out over this guy, to take him under my wing, but I am rethinking it now. The Thursdayum is no ordinary power. It's a power that goes beyond magic itself. For a youngster to learn it in that young age, it would make the Greybeards themselves surprised. My only guess was that this arch-wizard had some secret knowledge that she passed to him and made him grow into such a fine talent. The Jarls were dejected from the grand opportunity they had to miss just because they have no power to hold on to it. Jarl Idgrod. High King Torrig called for the last Jarl who didn't speak. I can't wait him. She just said that. All the Jarls were taken aback. This woman would always say her opinion in anything she knew about or not, yet she refused to speak. Most Jarls wouldn't take her words seriously, but Torrig, Ulfric and Balgruuf knew what this woman was capable of. Her divinations were scary accurate. Her talent in magic was that of a mystic. She had the weirdest talent among most mages. What I saw in him was a reckless boy who was never afraid to get his hands dirty. He walked the twisted path many times, yet he was never stained by it. She said, I don't think his fate will be easy. Either if you want to associate with him or not, that's your choice, but supporting him may come with a heavy price or an enemy you can't stand against. It's all not clear, but that's the best I can do. She took a deep breath and said, my advice is, don't hinder his path, treat him normally and life will go on just right. She was saying that while looking to Ulfric in the eye. Few could do that. The atmosphere stiffened for a while, but the Torg decided to break the ice. He is by all means the victor of this tournament as long as he participates in the last competition. He said and smiled, we will sink him in glory and send him on his way. Still, I am looking forward for tomorrow. As Torrig said that, all Jarls started to giggle inwardly. The last competition is madness in the eyes of many. Safety was guaranteed in the most of the tournament except in this one. People actually died in this one before. First-person POV. That fight was really something. I seriously enjoyed it to the last moment. I really didn't want to use the Thursdayum in public, especially when Ulfric Stormcloak is around, but it came for the best. I learned the Thursdayum a year ago. I knew all the words from the game and I could remember everything about them. I even wrote a section about them in my magic note. While trying to learn them, Nurina would take me to a room where she would cast a muffle spell around all the rooms so no one can hear anything. She took interest in the words of dragons herself, but she couldn't master any of them. That made her really depressed. I, after few weeks of training, could master the first word, fuss. I think the hero of the game could master these words much faster than me due to him absorbing dragon souls. I have no dragon souls and I don't think they have any in the market. I had to take the hard way to learn it, the same way that the normal voice masters could learn the voice. Yet I was talented according to Nurina. She was a genius in magic, and she couldn't master a single word. I think me playing the game and using the fuss Roda on Lydia for thousands of time was really giving some results. I wanted to learn other words of power, but for some reason, comprehending them was a pain. I really wanted to learn the disarm shout or whirlwind sprint, but they were simply too hard. I guess the reason was due to the shout from the game has much different effect or feeling that I can't apply with imagination or memory. I guess I'll have to try harder. After the fight I was so beaten up that I went directly to the inn and closed my room. I slept like Horker. After I woke up I found Scotty, Bjorna and Battleborn were surrounding me asking me about the Thursdayum. I thought Battleborn would feel betrayed that I kept that from him, but he was very happy. He said he could see it before he lose consciousness, and it looked grand from his point of view. Scotty was so hyped and was shaking me full force. My bones were going to crack from that woman's grabbing power. Wolfer and Sviti as well as Akra and Isolde knew about that secret, so I was safe from that side. Bjorna came later and started to tell us about the rumors going on in the inn. Some are saying that I am some sort of hero and others were saying I was brought up by Ulfric Stormcloak. So many rumors started to fly around me. There were so many congratulation gifts from some influential people. We even received a dinner invitation by Thane Bryling, but Scotty cancelled it off. I would have accepted though. Clan Battleborn sent a huge sum of money to John Battleborn. They said that he made them proud and sent me few gifts too. I had to rent another room to store all these stuff away. Luckily a servant from the College of Winterhold came and asked me to register the luggage I will take with me on their ship. I showed him the stuff and he was about to cry. I really wanted to sneak around and go to the bathhouse, but a party was thrown in the inn for the honor of Team White Wolves. Teams that also lived in the inn with us joined and drinks were everywhere. Sviti and Battleborn sang many songs I wrote. They were some songs from my past life that I had to edit to fit this world some time ago. I was smiling while drinking with Wolfer. For some reason I had to make him drunk before he can talk normally to Bjorna. This was fun. I didn't drink that much, but I made sure that everyone drink till they fall down. That was part of the plan going on. Seriously, I was starting to feel bad for myself. I am always shaking people with a hand while holding a dagger behind my back. I guess my cheerful self from my past life has become some sort of distant memory now. As everyone was passed down on the tables and the floor, this was the perfect time to act. I went to a girl called Lizette. She is a beautiful Breton girl who works as a bard in the inn. I gave her few coins and asked her to keep these people sleeping for a while as I wanted to sneak out somewhere. Lizette was a big fangirl to my team and one of Sviti's friends. If I stayed in this city for a while longer, I think I would date her. As I made my way to my room, I opened my personal chest and there I took out a strongbox carefully. As I put it on the side with utmost care, I opened it and I could see some small flasks in it. These little babies were my pride and joy. These were no poisons or potions, these were bombs. Yes sir, these are explosives. The mod Complete Alchemy and Cooking Overhaul added these babies to this world. These babies can go *kaboom. When they feel heat or get broken. These babies are too sensitive, you see. I take out a belt with many mini pockets. These mini pockets fit perfectly with the flasks. They were designed and enchanted to keep them in safe condition during operations. Thieves' Guild gear, as you see, a gift from Uncle Delvin. I put the belt on and took some flasks and equipped them in it. This looked cool, but I had to hide how cool it looked with my shirt. Putting on my sneaking gear and a large black cloak, I was ready to roll. Going downstairs, I could see Lizette doing a good job, singing her lullaby, "Good girl, keep them sleeping." I went to the side and found someone who was drinking alone in the side. I sat front of him and didn't say anything. "Tonight?" Gullumi I, the Argonian thief fence, asked me. "Tomorrow night," I replied. "What will you do?" he asked. "The girl will die. I am afraid this may go a bit ugly and a little inexperienced. I never took a soul before," I said. He drank from his tankard and looked at me again. "So what happened to poor Sibby was not your doing?" I looked at him and smiled, then shook my head. "Well, you were in the inn the whole day drinking, as it seemed. Maven wanted us to investigate you, but we told her you are one of us and we treat our best clients with utmost care," he said. "I am glad I was right. So Maven did suspect me after all. Glad I played my part well. I will make a last tour tonight. As long as everything is smooth, nothing will go south on my side," I said. "Make sure to stay clear of my way, Lizard." I made a dissatisfied face. Can't afford to break my act now. As I said that, I took my leave and left the inn through the back door. Now to Castledour. Dearest readers, there are 3 votes going on in the Discord group. Try them out. Chapter 37, Like the Life of a Secret Agent. I walked in the narrow market street of Solitude, heading to the tallest building in the city, Castledour. It wasn't midnight yet, and I could see many people coming and going in the shops that looked like the bazaars. Even though these areas were poor and the streets were narrow, they had no unhealthy establishments like Riften. It has somewhat reminded me with Cairo's Khan el Khalili *. I used to love that place. *, a historical market in Egypt, a pic on Discord. My appearance in the cloak and hood was not really out of the place. Some people would walk like that to do private business with ease, so I usually come here to buy soul gems and other stuff too. I took this way to reach the castle because I can lose any pursuer if I felt any, as I don't want the thieves or the assassins to know about my plans. As I reached the castle from the back market, I climbed the road up to the castle's side gate. There are a Fletcher's and a blacksmith shops in this area. A guard stopped me at the gate, so I showed him my tournament token and my face. I told him I was here to meet with Captain Aldous. The guard recognized me and let me pass. Another one led me to Aldous in the training yard. Oh, if it's not our young champion. Captain Aldous seemed to be in a good mood. WL met Captain. I greeted him and started a long conversation about the tourney. I want to talk more about this and that, but I came here for a specific reason, I said. Ah, he exclaimed, you are still after answers. I thought you might think they would be those big gamblers who hired assassins. I investigated for a while, but I need to see that girl for one last time, I said. If assassins were hired again, I need to be extra careful. If I got an extra bit of information, then I'll be at ease. It's okay, follow me. Captain Aldous was a very understanding man. I followed him as he told. This is the only chance to do this part of the plan, and I have to do it perfectly. I have to plant all these explosive flasks inside the jail. The time is tight, and I must do it right. I surveyed the place many times, and I found that there are some places with windows. I tried to make a rough understanding of the building. This was not as hard as anyone would think. Buildings here are not that complicated. The bomb flask size is that of an adult's finger, easy to hide, and with the damp and dark nature of the prison, storing them here is a very safe job. The most important part was how to avoid Captain Aldous's sight and plant them as I follow him. We reached the gate that leads to the prison. Passing it, my eyes started scanning every nook and cranny in the corridors we walked into. As I saw the first window that views the street, I planted a flask around it. From that point the distance between every flask must be between 5 to 7 meters. Captain Aldous was walking ahead of me, and I was planting flasks on every shelf, clutter, and every dusty and dark place there is no use in cleaning it. I kept the conversation with Captain Aldous going as to not raise any suspicions. As we reached the cell, I had already planted more than 20 flasks. This was a good result, even if I say so myself. I looked at the girl who feigned madness and kept asking her questions, yet she acted her part well. No matter what, Captain Aldous didn't suspect me. These are the perk of being the young Nord hero in their eyes. Too bad I cheated them. Acting as I got no result, I left the girl and walked out with Captain Aldous. He kept talking about tomorrow's events and how much he was looking for it. Tomorrow was the last round, the Battle Royale. It is a match between the 32 participants only with no helpers whatsoever. It was a lethal match that sometimes people die in it. Anyone can forfeit from this round, but they won't be acknowledged even if they won every competition before. As for me, who can be called the first team in the winning rate and the scoring rate, I need to make it through tomorrow's match anyway, even if was defeated. My position in the lead is solid and no one can put me down now. After the match the rewards will be given by the king, the Skyforge weapons as well as the monetary reward and the champion's share of the gamblings. I am going to be filthy rich starting from tomorrow. Problem is, this money will be spent too fast if I think about it. I don't feel bad about money actually. The problem for mages are resources, and money can solve that, and the next problem will face me is going to be the price of learning in the College of Winterhold. This is no game, as I said, this is real life. The college charges money for every word one learns. The spells of the expert level, unlike the game, are actually priceless, let alone the master level spells that are considered secrets of the craft, with the forbidden spells and the original spells that mages created. All these problems need a lot of money. Nurina is rich and all, but I can't ask more from her. I am a grown person who needs to survive on his own, so the earnings from the tournament is a grand chance for me. I have few plans of how to make a business and make it grow to support myself, but most of these ideas are rough plans that depend on luck and fate. After speaking of this and that with Captain Aldous, I started to feel sorry of how many lies I am telling this good man, so I took my leave and headed back to the inn. Drinking it over and heading to bed is the best solution. As I reached the Winking Skeever, I found no one on the first floor. Seems like they all went to bed. Lisette was gathering her stuff, and she seemed to be going to bed too. As I greeted her, she was looking at me and smiling as if she wanted to ask about something. I didn't really want to turn a beauty down, so I sat and invited her for a drink. She sat happily and started talking about the Bard's College and how she is having a hard time there. She also was interested in the songs Sviti sings, as it seems that Sviti told her I wrote these songs. So that how it is. She wanted to learn some of these songs, but I am not getting out of this empty-handed, hee. I have some songs I newly wrote, they are in my room, I said while drinking. Oh, I would certainly love to get a look at them, but she was taken aback as I made my condition. Want songs, come to take them yourself. It's a good song about warriors and all that stuff you bards love, I said. Now the offer is better. Ahem. Is it okay? She said. She knew she was being pulled into something. This is my last night in the inn anyway. I'll leave tomorrow on a ship after the last round, so I would like to get some rest, I said. I was already putting down the tankard. About the song, she said. You are welcome any time, I said. I went directly to my room. As I entered, I hid the stuff on me back in the chest and wore the comfiest thing I have. After a few minutes, I heard soft knocks on the door. I wasn't in a hurry and pretended not to hear until it was knocked again. Coming. What a pleasant surprise, I said as I saw Lisette behind the door. Come in. I invited her in and she walked in slowly, and with one finger I closed the door. Have a seat, I'll bring you a drink, I said while pointing at a chair and picking a wine bottle. mead won't do this time. Lisette nodded while making a pitiful face. Please don't make me feel like a bad guy. I put a goblet in front of her and poured some wine, then went back and brought out a journal. Here. These are some of the best stuff I wrote, I said, and put the journal in front of her. Have fun. After I said that, I went and sat cross-legged on the bed, then closed my eyes. Did I come at a bad time perhaps? Lisette asked nervously. Not at all. I am just preparing the joystick, I said, opening half an eye. The what stick? She started stuttering with words and looked frightened. The joystick, I said. It's a very delicate state of mind. Ain't no meme in the game, no as fishy stick. Oh, right, Lisette said while looking back at the journal. She started to ask me questions about the songs, and we drank for some time. Still, it's a mystery how she was sitting on the bed next to me right now. I looked at the girl who sat beside me on the bed. She was an angelic beauty, no matter how I think about it. She smelled so nice. I think she bought that perfume from Angeline's Aromatics. Bretons know their stuff after all. She had a small build and a lively atmosphere that makes you wants to pat her head and see her smile. She was smiling right now when she was sitting next to me. I think I made a good job writing those songs after all. We sat side to side and held the journal between us. I stole few looks at her by going backward and gaining some height over her. The feeling she gives when I look at her that close is so intoxicating. She has a blonde wavy long hair, as if strands of gold going down to her neck and on her shoulders. Her skin was fair white like that of Nord's. Her eyes were grey, though they lacked of color unlike the natives of this land. Her eyes were still big and beautiful. Why am I speaking about her eyes now? Wasn't I sneaking peeks at her? Seriously. She caught me while I was intoxicated with her beauty. What a trap I walked in. Was it her beauty or the wine that trapped me, I wonder? I don't care, I'll just throw that goblet away now. And I did just that. It was already empty, worthless, empty goblet. Back to the beauty in hand, she was still looking at me eye to eye, yet she also woke up and started looking away. No. Not now. Not just yet. I am not done, I said as I touched her chin with a finger and returned her face to face mine. I still want more. Yet she was moving her eyes to the side. No. I can't take it any more. I want more from these eyes. There is a song that I haven't read written within. I can't take my eyes of hers just yet. She still held the journal front of herself. Fine then, no journal for the naughty. I took that journal from her. I took it and put it in my clothes. Now she gazed her eyes to mine. Yes, more, let me see them more. The journal, I still want to read it, she said. She looked to where I hid them, and her eyes teared. Now, these eyes tell a different song when her emotions change. Why don't you take it out? I said as I approached her. Now she is in my trap, she is between my arms, she is not moving away. I want more of that. Why is she different? I think I can't push her like this. I need to guide her. Yes, guide her. She seems not knowing what to do now. I held her forearms and pulled her closer, then I loosened my robe just a bit. I got closer to her face and held her hand, then put it on me. See, it's just there. Why don't you take it? I said. If you don't take it, I will take you. She was breathing heavily with her body getting hotter and hotter, and she looked down. Now, don't look down. I raised her face to look at mine. She has submitted to much. I have no experience with a girl like her. The ones I knew were really bold and took the initiative for every move. I got my face closer to her. I could feel her warm breathing on my skin. I couldn't take it any more. Now I had to kiss her, and so I did. I kissed her on her lips lightly, and she was not resisting. I had to hold her body from the waist now, she giving in, and I was allowed to pleasure her as I want. I moved her on my hips and body stuck to mine. Here temperature was so warm in this cold weather, I had to kiss her, again to fill my intoxication level once again. Now I am drunk in her vividness and beauty. I started telling her how to respond and kiss back. She was reacting sometimes and lagging the other times. She clearly was a virgin. As we felt hotter, our clothes started feeling like a blockage of fibers. We had to get rid of that and free ourselves. She was reluctant at first, but I took her clothes away anyway. She looked so beautiful in her as she was naked. Her breasts were smaller than that of the bathhouse girls, yet they were round and full. They felt so good as I touched them as her body started twitching. When I touched her nibbles I could hear her moan. She was perfect, so perfect I felt like I was cheated when I went to the bathhouse. These sounds she made were of a true pleasure. I was going crazy from hearing her. I started using my mouth around to play with these goodies. She was pretty much heated up now. There were few underwears that separated us from the real pleasure. As I moved my hands to remove them from her, she held into them. I could see her face looking hesitant. I understood her. I moved myself to lay beside her and our bodies touched each other. I went to her face and kissed her cheeks and told her sweet words while fighting with our hands downstairs. "Don't worry. It won't be bad." I said that to her. "Please go easy," she said in a very hot voice. How could I disobey her like this? I took her on me and slowly removed the last bit of clothes on us. Now I could see everything I want to see. I needed to make it easy on her, so made Little John touch with her hot over downstairs. Doing that, the only best way to heat her up is to rub our bodies together. If we don't, we may catch cold or something. I didn't waste any time as I took her and covered ourselves with the blanket. I took her lips with mine and entered in a hot hug as our lower halves were heating each other. We moved between each other's lips and necks, exchanging all sort of sweet words. She started to react more finally. She was doing great. And here it comes. I was planning for this. I fixed our position and pinned her down, saying, "Ready or not, here I come." She closed her eyes and readied herself. Little John invaded her over with vigor. This was so damn tight, so tight that I felt crazy from this tightness. This was the best tightness I ever felt. As I took it out, there was a small amount of blood. Wiping it away, we continued like crazy. She appeared to be in pain at first, but now she held me with her legs and didn't want to let go. Even when her tight oven spewed its lave out, she barely let me out before she would scream on my and pull me back in again. The amount of kissing and fluids that we made that day was amazing. She even didn't let me do it outside. I was worried, but she insisted to take it all in. This was the best time I ever had in 2 lifetimes. Can there be anything better than this? I didn't drink a potion this time. That girl would be done for if I did drink one. It needed a level of strength to take on someone with that amount of vigor. The after effect of the potion that was reflected on the size was great, as we pleased ourselves to the best of our ability. After a while we laid down beside each other. I was sleeping on my back, and she slept on her front, borrowing the half of me to rest on. She took my right arm and hugged it with her body. I couldn't help but smile and played with her hair. We exchanged few kisses, and she directly went to sleep. I looked at her and closed my eyes. Next thing I know was light of day coming from the window. This light of morning is annoying, tch. I also feel something heavy. Why is it heavy? How did this happen? I don't remember. How did this happen? She is sleeping. Lizette is sleeping. And she is. Sweet baby Talos. Why is she naked? Why do I feel like I am missing an arm? No, she is just hugging it and it turned numb. Let's try to retrieve it. Yes, please, I'll be needing that. Move up a bit, thank you. This lucky arm of mine spent the night being hugged alone. The rest of my body is feeling envious now. No. Focus. This is not the problem now. I don't remember what happened, and I think she will not remember either. It will be a pain if she freaked out. Under sunlight that came from the window, this girl appeared so vividly beautiful. Her platinum hair and soft skin lying beside me can turn me crazy, but the hangover was keeping me in check. I think I still have some of that hangover remedy potion somewhere. Fetching it from the end table, I drained it in one go. While clearing up my mind, I started thinking about this and that. My life turned into that of a secret agent lately. I mean, I planted explosives in the castle, then went and slept with a beauty. How nice! Judging by the angle of the sun, I woke up early, as my biological clock is accurate as ever. Even though I slept for only 3 hours, I am wide awake now. After sobering up, I looked back at the sleeping beauty behind me to find her eyes open and were looking at me silently. I was about to freak out, but she didn't seem to be shocked or anything. She just stared at me. "Good morning," I said while smiling. "Good morning," she said. Then she sat next to me. We were both naked and I felt a bit awkward. As I was about to say something, she took my arm again and hugged it the same way she was doing when she was asleep. "Just as you said, it wasn't that bad," she said. I did. I was wondering what she said. "You don't remember?" She looked at me strangely, then she leaned her head on my arm and closed her eyes. "It's okay if you don't, you were drunk, so I don't think you were lying." "Did I say anything weird, embarrassing, or crazy?" I asked seriously now. "How did I get this drunk?" "Nothing out of the ordinary for a drunk Nord. Just dragons, and more dragons," she said and laughed. "Damn it." I brought up dragons again. We stayed like this for a while, as I couldn't resist the urge to play with her hair. Doing that made me remember some of what happened last night. "I'll leave the room to you if you want to sleep more. I'll go get ready for the last match now," I said as I separated myself from her. "Beat them up, Dragonborn," Lisette said and giggled as she went back to sleep. Seriously now, how much nonsense did I say last night? Chapter 38 Spies. First-person POV. I went down to eat breakfast. I somewhat felt some presences downstairs, so I could already guess that some people woke up. Judging by habit, Wolfer and Sviti would wake up before me. Back in the orphanage, our sleeping schedule was made by Nurina and no one could break it, so it became a habit. Wolfer was eating breakfast alone. I joined him and ordered something. "I went to your room for some hangover remedy," he said. "Damn it now. I think I was still drunk and I saw things that shouldn't be there," he continued. "Let's ignore that guy. You just can't keep it inside your pants, can you?" He was still speaking. "Fine, here, a hangover remedy." I gave him all the potion left. "Now I forgot everything this morning, everything is hazy," he said. When did this guy become so shameless? Eating together for a while, the rest came walking like zombies and holding their heads from last night's rave. "You guys deserve it." "A courier for John Dare." I could hear someone calling. Strange. This is my first time receiving a courier. I went to the voice direction at the entrance of the inn to see who called. A person stood there and appeared to be a courier. Couriers are people who deliver messages to other people. In Skyrim there is a post office-like system that works under every Jarl. People hire them for communication purposes and sending messages around all holds. Couriers also appeared in the game on many occasions. "I am John," I said as I faced the young man. "Oh, I have been looking for. Got something I am supposed to deliver." "Your hands only," said the courier. "Let's see here. A letter, sent by Nurina from Winterhold, to John Dare in the Winking Skeever." As the young man was speaking, I started lagging, but I lagged once again. First lag, this courier just now said the same words couriers say in the game, the exact same words when couriers deliver something. I just didn't know how to feel for a second. Should I be happy that something is the same from the game, or should I just freak out from the similarity? This was mortifying. The second thing is, Nurina sent a message, and she used a courier. Normally she uses the Thieves' Guild to do her communications, but she used a courier. Strange. I thanked the man and gave him a few copper septims, then went back to my seat. Wolfer and Sviti were curious about who might send me a letter. We basically are a bunch of kids who just left the orphanage. "It's from Nurina," I said with a grin. Seems like even she couldn't help but miss this handsome young man. I was buffing my chest. yet Wulfer and Sviti were looking at me with disdain. "He truly is headmistress's lapdog," Sviti said, and Wulfer started laughing. I gained many nicknames over the years from always being around Nurina, the lapdog, the minion, the thrall. And these aren't the worst names I got. God knows what Grelid used to call me behind my back. I was finished with opening the letter, not enduring to wait any longer. Hee. Let's see what Nurina have for me. John. Our friends in Winterhold has no business here, so I am not able to make any use of them. I forgot to buy some stuff from Riften, as Winterhold is no better than Wasteland now. Buy these stuff for me. Nurina. Okawaye. Where is the rest of this letter? There got to be another letter, right? What is that? A shopping list. Sviti, who sneaked behind me, snatched the letter from my hands, yet I didn't respond. I was overwhelmed with embarrassment now. Sviti started laughing like a pirate and gave the letter to Wulfer, who laughed too. Guys, you can't do that to Big Bro, you know. She really did it this time. Sviti started tearing from laughter. No one can make that guy know his place like her. Wulfer also became my enemy. I was so down right now. I thought she might say something good. It has been a month, you know. This is the longest time we were separated, you know. Elves. I said to myself, these guys have no concept of time at all. Some Altmare in the inn started eyeing me after I said that. Ehem. I noticed, dark ones, and corrected myself. They got back to their business. Sigh. Sviti, can you help me with shopping? I said. Sviti nodded. Well, she made fun of me, so at least she has to apologize. But that's as strange. Winterhold is a major settlement in the game, even if it's in deep decline. I am sure they have some thieves or anything around, and the college also must be bringing business. For Nurina to send a courier and ask me to buy these stuff sure make me question the situation in Winterhold. Enough deep thinking now. Wulfer said, make sure you don't eat too much. You have a big match this time, big boy. Why is he talking like a gym coach? I am sure I talk like that with him when I want to buff his morale. Is he worried and trying to buff my morales after Nurina's blow? What a good friend. Fine. I am back to normal anyway. After all, I have been dealing with Nurina's clumsiness for years till now. Is there any news about who is going to bail out from the last match? I asked Wulfer. He looked at me and smiled. Aside from Team Black Snove, which tragically lost a team member, and Team Bloodhand, that was discovered to be in relations with assassins, there are only two teams that won't be participating, Wulfer said as he did some research. The first team is Swift Blades from Riften, as they seem to be not interested. The second team is Wolf Fangs, as you have already crippled most of their members. Swift Blades not entering is for sure. These guys are Thieves Guild. Their job was to get close to the participants and gather information about them. The guild also dealt with informations. As for Wolf Fangs, then, that was my doing. So basically today is me against 27 others. Haha. I can see myself winning already. I said, this was a true madness. I don't want to take part in that madness. Whatever. I finished eating and went to my room to dress. Lizette was still here. She was dressing and ready to go. So, will I see you after the match? I asked. No, I will be at the college afterward. She said, don't worry, I will do fine until you decide to visit. She got close to me on her own, so I kissed her in return and held her hands, yet I could see some sadness in her eyes. She was hesitating for some reason. Are you all right? I couldn't help but ask. I am fine, she said and made a cheerful face. I'll be on my way now. She said her farewells and left the room. Something didn't feel right, yet maybe she is sad or something. I hope my rash actions don't cause her harm. Third-person POV. Behind the inn, Lizette went out from the back door. She looked sad, yet it was no sadness of separation. She felt a lot of guilt too. After all, she was after him for a purpose, not a good song or what people would think an ambitious bard would go after. She was after him for he was her target. Her mentor brought her into a fine bard for other reasons than just being a bard. This person had other plans for John, and she was just the mean to pry on him. Yet she has never thought that she would romance John for a full night. He was just someone she needed to get close to and take what she wants, yet he overwhelmed her will as she felt no power but to be played by him. Even after that night, he wasn't just after her body, he was also interested in her. He even saw through her mood and asked if she was all right. He also wasn't dishonest with her. She knew liars as of course she was one. "Forgive me," she couldn't help but mumble to herself. "For what?" A voice sounded, it came from her side. Lizette's face turned yellow from the shock, and she jumped back from the fright. This voice was so sudden. As she could take a good look at who was speaking, her expressions calmed down and could breathe. Nothing meant her. She could turn her expressions back to normal with no problem. As a bard, she knew who to act and perform to. Only thing is, she felt more depressed than before. Front of her was her mentor, a man she respected ever since she was a girl, and also the only person worthy of her respects in the Bard's College. It was the headmaster of the college, the Altmare, High Elf, Viarmo. The same Viarmo who does the commentary for the tournaments and the big event. She dreamt to be someone like this man, therefore she joined the college, and endured how much rivalry and bad-mouthing happened between the young bards in the college. Yet one day she found out that the person she always admired was not just a bard, he was something more. He had his own secrets like any other person, yet this time, this man didn't only just hide secrets, he also dealt with secret. He was what people could call a secrets merchant. Someone who knows what others want to know and sells it for the buyer that would bring most benefit. This was what this man recruited her into, and what he also recruited many other bards all over Skyrim, as bards were everywhere, in every inn, palace and sometimes in the influential people homes. This mentor was the owner of the biggest secrets trading business that even the Empire was working hard to establish a stable contact with him. Viarmo, the master of all the spies in Skyrim, was standing in front of her waiting for her results. "What did you know about the boy, Lisette?" Viarmo asked. Lisette, who was in a storm of feelings, started collecting her thoughts while thinking of how was she betraying John. I talked with him," she said meekly. "And?" Viarmo replied with patience. "He was not much different than what he shows to people," she said, "or at least that what I thought at first." She took a breath and continued. "He is an alchemist, a good alchemist too. I could smell many fragrant herbs and alchemical ingredients in his room," she said. "He also sometimes sneaks out at night, but I couldn't tell where he goes to." Viarmo nodded and asked, "What about his Thursdayum? That power of the voice?" "I couldn't learn anything, no one knows, not even his friends, but aside from obsessions with dragons, he had some books I could copy their titles in this note," she said as she handed out a note to him. Viarmo thought while taking her note, "These are all mysterious book of magic, mostly in the old ways, interesting?" He said, "Tell me, how did you get into his room?" Lisette lagged for a bit, that answer was not easy to say. "Didn't I tell you not to sneak behind closed doors?" Viarmo said, but he was not angry, he was smiling kindly though. "We are not thieves, my girl. I didn't sneak," the girl said, "I was invited in," and halted. Viarmo thought and said, "So you slept with him?" Lizette's face turned red from shame. Viarmo laughed softly and looked at the short girl in front of him, then his tone turned serious. "Did he harm you?" Lisette shook her head hastily. She was already ashamed of what she did with and to John. Her conscience didn't stand any more harm to him. "I see." Viarmo rubbed his chin and nodded. "Listen, Lisette, I know what you are thinking," he said. "This is your first real job, And for most of us, we sometimes have to mix between personal life and business. Lisette looked down and didn't talk. He is a youth that all the powers willing to curry favor with him. He won't be harmed by that much, Viarmo said and patted on Lisette's head. Suddenly cheers could be heard from the inn. It seems that participants started heading out to the arena. I will go now, Viarmo said and left Lisette behind. She just stood there without lifting her head up. Chapter 39 Battle Royale. All the 28 participants were in the arena, listening to the rules of the match said by Viarmo on his platform. The rules were simple. First, the weapon used will be dulled and presented by the arena. Second, the spells used must not exceed the apprentice-level spells. Third, don't use a special power like the Thursdayum, for example. And one can be considered out of the match as long as he or she was thrown out of the arena and their feet touched the ground. Even if he or she lost consciousness and woke up again, they can continue fighting as long as they were in. Violators will not be rewarded and will be kicked out. These rules were for the safety of the participants. The arena was also surrounded by a lot of healers just in case. This year's tournament has many good seedlings, and none of the big shots wanted to lose any of them in a meaningless fight. As everyone chose their weapons from the weapons presented by the arena, the only ones who didn't move to choose weapons were Rusning and John. Many foresaw this, and it wasn't strange. Rusning was a mage, and even though he wasn't bad with weapons, he wouldn't go out of his way to use them. John, on the other hand, was going to be a headache even if he didn't use a weapon. He can use bare-handed martial art that no one can predict its movements, and he can use magic. He wasn't going out of his ways either. Some of the participants, on the other hand, couldn't find the weapons they fancy and had to use the best ones available they can use. After a minute or two, the 28 were on the arena looking at each other with silence. Even friends distanced themselves from each other. This was going to be bloody, and they were getting ready for it. Unlike John and Rusning, who just finished the team duels yesterday, the other teams were already getting ready for this event for days. Most of them were already having strategies to deal with the strong players, even though it is shameful in this match. Some alliances were made between many participants. The judge surveyed the arena and the players, as he made sure everything was in place and no one has smuggled a sharp weapon in. He could signal that all was ready. In the VIP area, High King Torg saw that the people around the arena can wait no more and were jumping around like a bunch of baboons, so he ordered to haste things up. In the arena, John was being targeted by many participants now. He was known to be the ultimate victor even if he didn't do well in this match. His overall score was just that good, and this round in the tournament didn't mean much in the score, as the point of it was to prove one's bravery by facing many opponents at once. As Viarmo announced the start of the round, John's right foot was already in someone's face. Most of the opponents would take time to look at each other and intimidate one another, but John was going hot on heels and started kicking people. Sooner than the anticipated wait, everyone started fighting, and it turned hectic very soon. This was John's doing. The situation was getting out of hand very quickly. John wanted to end the match quickly, as he was already on a schedule and wanted to make spare time to perfect his upcoming plan. He moved between the opponent and started kicking and punching while avoiding most of the hits. That caused him to pull the aggro of many participants, and he was being chased by Ongium Scarmouth and 3 other goons. As he saw that, he activated the long stride spell and his body was enveloped in green light and started to run like mad. His speed was doubled due to the spell and shook of who came after him. He was not out of the woods yet as Rusning noticed him and started throwing firebolts at him. As John could locate him, he fired back some firebolts himself and positioned himself away from Rusning. This move changed the scenario of the match, as Rusning and John were on the sides while everyone was caught in the crossfire between them. Some participants started falling after this. The casting speed of the 2 mages was high and their magica regeneration was not that bad, as they were dressed in enchanted gear. On another side of the arena, Vilkas and Farkas were fighting back to back. They were brothers, so that was expected of them. Another side has Lydia facing Arger alone, and no one disturbed their showdown, yet they were avoiding the firebolts that were thrown at them from time to time. Ralof was still using his charging attacks on people, and pushed many of them out. Angium was getting cornered by 3 opponents on his own, but he was fending them off well as he found 2 axes that suited his style. The match was going well for these 8. After a few minutes the crowd was cheering like crazy, and all sort of bets were made. As most of the participants were out of the arena, the remaining ones were the 8 that was mentioned earlier. Farkas and Vilkas picked on John, Lydia and Arger were still fighting, and it was not going anywhere. Ralof and Angium were having some sort of marathon competition against each other, as it looked like they were running more than fighting. Rusning, however, was thinning his own presence to regain his breath and some of his magicka. John was having a hard time against the 2 brothers. He never faced Vilkas before, but it seemed he was a very cunning opponent, as he seemed to have analyzed all of John's move and was faring good against him. He even used his brother as a meat shield sometimes, as Farkas was much physically superior to Vilkas. John had to be more creative with these 2. He tried so many times, but one always avoided as the other attacked. Chances came and went, and even John, who was cornered at the side of the arena, could finally see one. His main goal was to take Vilkas down, and Farkas would be less threat. Farkas was retreating with a big step, and John didn't let that opportunity go. He jumped and stomped at Farkas's hip with a foot, and the other landed on his face. Just as Vilkas was advancing to save his brother, John used the kick on Farkas's face as a footing, and his other leg kicked at Vilkas's head. Vilkas took the hit perfectly, and his head was launched, taking the rest of his body out of the arena. The people cheered after they saw that. John, who was still landing, had no way to control his body now, and it seemed that Farkas has taken advantage of the situation and kicked a straight kick at John. John was still cornered at the side of the arena, and that kick launched him out of the arena. Disappointed as they were, the people didn't want to see John out of the arena that early, but their disappointment didn't last long either, as they saw the way John landed outside the arena. The rules were, if someone went out of the arena and his feet touched the ground, that would mean he is out of the mat. Yet when John landed out, he tried his best to keep his legs up in the air, and stood on his hand. This made a lot of people to stand up and cheer. A creative way is a creative way, no matter how many people said about it. As Farkas saw this, he knew that John would try to return to the arena on his hands. This made him smile and center himself at the way of John on the edge of the arena to prevent John from going back. Just as he was doing that, a firebolt flew towards him from the back, and he was completely open and unprepared for it. He staggered out of the arena and looked back. Rusning was smiling and shrugging his shoulders. Rusning wasn't saving John, he was aiming for him too, and just as he pushed Farkas out, he fired a barrage of firebolts again at John. John, who was on his hand, cursed and tried to dodge. He was lucky Rusning was far, so his aim was a bit off, yet Rusning was getting nearer. John pushed with his hands as much as he could, and could land his feet in the arena, but Rusning was closer now and his casting rate reached its apex. John was dodging left and right before even standing yet. The people started clapping when John landed his feet on the arena. As he was doing that, he spotted a shield on the ground and jumped to take it. John wasn't going to use the shield to guard himself. As he held it, he rotated his body and threw the shield at Rusning like a frisbee. Rusning was shocked and tried to make a matrix dodge, yet he fell on his butt. The shield flew and hit the head of the unlucky Angium, who was fighting Ralof behind Rusning. The shield made a perfect hit on the back of Angium's neck, which made him black out. Ralof took the chance and carried Angium, then ran towards the side of the arena to throw him out. Suddenly the power returned back to Angium, and he clenched on Ralof when he was falling, pulling him with him. The two went outside the arena together. John wasn't even looking at them as he jumped on Rusning and knocked him out, throwing him outside the arena and looking back to see who was left. To no surprise, Arger has just defeated Lydia and kicked her out of the arena. Now the only two remained were John and Arger. The crowd was hyped after the last two faced each other. John and Arger were not smiling, however. They were tired and out of breath by now. Arger didn't wait for John to catch his breath and attacked. Slash slash stab. John, who was not armed, could only dodge these fast attacks. Arger kept draining himself and attacked faster. He could injure John few times. John was counterattacking with lightning bolt spells on close range, but his aim was off due to the fast attacks of Arger. Finally, Arger made a mistake and stabbed slower than his usual as his body also leaned more forward. John took the chance and attacked Arger hand with his own hand, kicked him in his unguarded area in his armor, headlocked him and performed a drape drop takedown, DDT. Arger, who was already out of breath, didn't last after this combo, and went to dreamland. John, however, was panting for breath beside the fallen Arger, and barely stood up after it while the crowd was cheering. He pulled Arger and pushed him out the arena, then sat on it breathing hard. Viarmo stood up from his chair and announced the winner as John of the White Wolves. Wolfer and Battleborn ran down from the crowd and ran to John, holding him up and bringing the potions to him. All the healers started taking care of the after-match first aid. Lucky enough, no one died this year. The VIPs started coming down to the arena after the participants were fixed up and stood behind High King Torrig. The participants were brought and few words of encouragement were said. They were all going to be rewarded, as it seemed, of course, nothing close to the reward of the victor. A grand party will be held to celebrate the tournament and hand the rewards right after this. The chapter is meh, uneasy face. I know, I am a bit out of ideas for this chapter anyway. Vote news. Torig's survival vote. 30 vote to save, 16 not save. The vote will remain until the story reaches it. Renaming the novel vote. Skyrim, Origins of the Dragonborn, 3 votes. Skyrim, Origins of the Lost, 13 vote. Skyrim, Dragonborn Within, 28 vote. The last day of the vote is tomorrow. Chapter 40 Meet Your Crazy Uncle. Bonus chapter everybody. March 3rd this week, thank goodness. That was Harry. I swear I won't participate in this madness ever again. That's it, I am done. Don't call me up when this happens again. Why would they make a meaningless match like that? Will it be alright if anyone went to Sovngarde this young? Nords. All they care about is music, fighting and mead. These people need to learn how to chill. They actually do chill like that. We were now invited to a banquet in the garden of the Blue Palace, and it's all mead and bards. After the fight we were told to come to the Blue Palace like this. We could get healing in the arena, but the food and mead will be presented in the palace. Won't we need to dress or anything? I asked, but Arger shook his head and said, when Nords die, they go to Sovngarde with the gear they died with. What is more honorable than being in your battle gear? He said. I never took you for the hardcore Nord and Sovngarde type. I looked at Arger and said, this guy didn't give that vibe at all. The traditions are deep in solitude. Even though we are not like Windhelm, we are the capital and we have to be more careful with the traditions, he said, buffing his chest while holding his head. How is your head, by the way? I asked while grinning. I don't know. That move of yours made my head feel like being hit by a giant, he said. This guy is having his hard time after the DDT he took. Let's leave him for now. I walked away from Arger and joined with Rusning and his team. When will we be leaving? I asked. Didn't the servants take your stuff already? We will set sail at first light, he said, but we will spend the night in the ship. Good time plan, suits my other plan. Did you get a good place like I asked? I asked. The ship is mostly empty. You can have as many places as you want. But who will be coming with you? He asked. I didn't think of cover to that. My servant. I thought fast and said while moving my face away. Rusning was taken aback but didn't say anything. On the side of that team, Faralda was making a grumpy face. I asked Rusning what's wrong with her. She said that too many Nords in one place gives her headache. Rusning said. That's racist, I retorted. High elves are normally like that, so all that Rusning could do was just to smile wryly. Never mind that now, food was one of the most important things I came here for. In the garden, there were many tables under sheds, and a lot of food was served on them. I ate my fill from the venison meat. It was cooked really well and it was everywhere. How many deer did these guys kill? Some of the plates had mammoth steak. This thing was hard, but it was very delicious too. Back in my old world there were no mammoths. I couldn't help but think that I am the first Egyptian ever to eat a mammoth. All in all, the Nordic cuisine was not that fancy, yet it had many dishes that focused on resisting the cold and being healthy. I didn't do any otherworldly cuisine, even though I recreated some food. Still, I couldn't make any progress. I was researching how to make noodles, and also was looking around for rice. I heard that there is rice in Cyrodiil, but sadly, Skyrim doesn't import it. Thinking about food this and food that, a servant came and told me that I was requested to come to the big table in the shade of the castle. There were fewer people there. These guys were the Jarls and the other big shots from the VIP, as well as Irland Greymane and other representatives of the clans all over Skyrim. I went there and heard someone saying, "Here he comes, haha." It was High King Torygg. He was smiling at me and calling for me to come. People started gathering and the area became quiet. Torygg stood up. This tournament was an exciting one, and we could see many young heroes and know their names. The one shone brighter, however, was the victor. The fights this year between the junior warriors opened the eyes of many people to many things. Torygg kept saying to many stuff that I didn't care about until he reached the end. After saying all that, I hope I didn't make your heads heavier. Now let's give these guys their rewards. As he said that, some servants brought up small and big chests. The first few participants were rewarded according to their achievement. After some time, my turn came and I stepped forward, followed by my team, Wulfr and Battleborn, who were dressed well and all. As we were in front of the king and Jarls, 5 weapons were put in front of me. You and your team may choose a weapon each. An old man stood next to a table that has 5 weapons on it, said that. There was a saber, a bastard sword, an axe, a mace, and a warhammer. They somehow looked like the weapons from the game, yet the design was different. These were the designs of a Midianborn wolf armor and Skyforge weapons mod, pretty impressive in real life. I was the first to pick, but when I looked at Wulfr I could read his mind, so I picked the saber. That choice of mine made some people surprised. I wanted the saber for a few reasons. First, I was going to use more magic from now on, and I wanted a weapon that suits the use of one hand more than just a bastard sword that will need more force to control. The second reason was Wulfr. I could feel he wanted the warhammer. He always used warhammers better than me anyway. My only interest in big weapons came from my interest in fighting big opponents in the future, yet I thought that I don't need to concern myself with that now. Wulfr looked at me, surprised by my choice. I looked at him and said, "What? Didn't you always want a Skyforge warhammer?" he asked. I looked at him strangely to continue my act, then smiled. "Forged by you, brother," and said that. "Besides that, the one I have right now is pretty good." I looked away after that, but I was pretty sure he was looking at me and thinking that I am an idiot. Never mind that now. After I chose the saber, Battleborn went ahead and took the sword. "Young John, so you finally took the blade you wanted," the old man who stood behind the weapons said. Uncle Irland, I am a man of my word, and I said I will own a Skyforge sword once. Battleborn grinned and said, "I will finish studying at the college for 2 years and I will be coming home. You know what for?" Haha. Let's see if Will are a man of your word that time. The old man, who appeared to be Irland Greymane, laughed at John Battleborn. As Battleborn picked the sword and Wulfr picked the warhammer, we received a paper that carried the seal of the High King. I can cash the reward by this paper from any official treasury in Skyrim. This paper will remain with me, and our gainings from the gamblings will go to Wulfr and Sviti. They were almost the same amount. The party continued for some time after that, and Faralda sent Rusning to tell me to be ready for leaving. Taking my leave from the big shots who were swarming me, I followed Rusning out. Back at the inn I finished preparing my chest, which will be taken with me. It had my clothes and some money as well as my important stuff like the notes and all that. There was much other stuff, yet they were stored in 2 crates and were taken to the ship yesterday. Taking the books I left lying around back to the chest, and making everything into order, I finally had nothing left in the room. I carried the chest down and handed it to one of the college's servants that will take it to the ship. On me was a bag that had some stuff I will be needing this night. This night was the night after all. I was dressed in the casual clothes that I bought from Radiant Raiments and returned to my casual dandy self. So, I'll be seeing you 2 years from now. I looked at Sviti, who started crying. She held her fox with her, and looked like a girl who was being abandoned. Hey, I am feeling like a bad guy now. I patted her head, then left out. Wulfr and Battleborn were outside the inn talking with Rusning and his group. As they saw me getting out of the inn, they looked at me. I'll be leaving you guys now, I said. Don't get into prison like last time I left you. Bah! Look how shameless he can be. You were the one who left and went to the bathhouse that day. Battleborn was annoyed. Next time I'll be seeing you in Whiterun. You should make a grand celebration for your brother's arrival, I said. I'll be making a celebration and all, but it will be my wedding, he said with a grin. And you, big man, I'll see you in a year. But what will you do in that year? I asked. The Legion was recruiting blacksmiths. I made a deal to work for a year. They pay much better here, Riften here, he said. The Legion, huh? Just don't do anything stupid like getting recruited or anything, I said as I was still skeptical about the future event. Don't worry. The workshop is right at the end of the shopping district, so I won't be seeing any action, he said. So that's how it is. This blacksmith on the other side of the pet shop. I couldn't help but grin at Wulfr and remind him of the bear he will have to raise. After conversing for a while, Faralda made her appearance and told everyone to hurry up and leave. I said my farewells and went behind the college group. The Dock of Solitude is a big place and held a lot of ships. I was not amazed, as I have seen it before. What amazed me was Scotty's appearance in the docks. She was coming down from a ship and her red hair was fluttering with the wind, which gave her a very cool appearance. Another man followed her. He was a giant among men and his long hair was all red and had a big beard. Look who it is. Come here, young John. I, who was following the college people, got called by Scotty. WL met Scotty, I said with a plain face. See this man here? This is my eldest brother Njord, she said. This boy is the one Hilda talked about. The man looked at me with some scary eyes. He was a giant, and true giant among giants would tremble from that look in his eyes. What's wrong with this guy? Scotty said that's her brother. Then shouldn't he be my uncle or anything? He had the same features as me too, red hair and blue eyes, yet his eyes were so damn scary. He raised his left hand, he raised it high. I could see his hand reaching heaven, and now it was falling. The hell is that? Is he planning to kill me? Moreover, shouldn't my body move in emergencies like these? Why is it not moving? His hand was getting closer, and it was targeting my right shoulder. My poor right shoulder. Goodbye. It was good knowing you, right shoulder. I'll continue this journey without you. His palm fell on my shoulder. Please don't kill me, please don't kill me, please don't kill me, please don't kill me, please don't kill me. I could feel my imaginary HP bar being drained like crazy. Yet I was still standing. I endured. Skinny. The man said. You are the large one, Scotty said. Besides, he won the tourney, you know. If a youngster from our clan couldn't win this so-called tournament, then the elders will disown them, Jord said. He held tighter on my poor right shoulder. I could already see that. What does that clan feed you to grow this big anyway? Just let him go, Scotty said and pushed his arm away from me. Sorry about this, John. This guy is the one who controls the ship's business in our clan, so he is a bit of a pirate, haha. More like a Poseidon incarnation. Davy Jones will pay tribute to this man if they crossed path. Fine boy. We'll be seeing you in a year. Grow taller a bit if you want to survive the ceremony, Jord said as he left towards the city. He will be just fine. Scotty glared at him. Don't worry about him. He is normally like that. I massaged my shoulder and looked at her and mumbled, I am more worried about Wolfer now. Scotty opened her eyes wide and said crap, then she ran in the direction where Jord disappeared. Well, whatever it is, good luck, Wolfer. I am bailing out from this one. It seems that I have a crazy family in this life. Let's hope this crazy uncle doesn't kill Wolfer with a thunderpat. Now, let's return to reality. We have a night operation now. Chapter 41, Prison Break. According to the vote, we changed the name of the novel from SBTTI Skyrim, but that's too immersive to SDW Skyrim, Dragonborn Within. I hope we didn't make the wrong decision. As I started thinking of tonight's operation, my mood returned to the way it should be. As I returned to the group of the college after saying hey to Scotty and the newly appeared uncle, Jord. Svedal, the other 3 male members of the college's team, started chatting non-stop with me. This guy is too friendly as it seemed. After walking to the end of the docks, we arrived at a beautiful ship. How can a ship be beautiful, you ask? Well, I don't know, it just looked very beautiful to me. It was how a ship was supposed to look like, not whatever that sorry excuse of a ship that appeared in the game. These ships were the same models from DK's realistic and lore-friendly Nord ships mod, something you can just only look at and admire. The Nordic ships have their unique appearance as Nords were the best-known sailors in this world. Their ships resembled the Viking longboats from my past world with the dragon figurehead that made them stand out. They were also vast and has a very close structure to the ships from the Georgian era, yet their theme was Nordic. The ship in front of me was called the Icicle. It has a glowing white sail that stood out with the insignia of the college drawn on it. I boarded the ship and got a good cabin under the deck. It has a bed, some simple furniture and my chest that was delivered here. It would be my room for the next few days. I made sure everything in place and went back to the docks. The ship will sail at first light, so I had a lot of time. I headed to the East Empire Company office and made sure that Gulami I is in his place and was busy. The same could be said for Mikolo the barber after checking the bathhouse. I guess I should move now. I headed towards the docks again, yet I passed it and passed the bridge. I could detect one around the area, except for some weird-looking owl. I went to the place I dug at the end of the sewer tunnel. I hid that place with bushes and it seemed it was as it is. Now let's head into solitude. As I was walking through the sewer, I cast candlelight spell and walked according to my map. I also started thinking for the last time about my plan. As I sneak, I mostly rely on the protection of the Shadow Stone. The Shadow Stone is one of the 13 standing stones Skyrim. They give their protection to the ones born under their starts. I was raised in the orphanage, so I didn't know which stars I was born under. In another meaning, I was a sad soul who doesn't have a birthday. Yet I gained the protection of the Shadow Stone. It was a desperate try, yet my luck was amazing. The Shadow Stone is very close to Riften, and as one of 13 stones, I guess I was lucky. This also meant I was born under the stars of the Shadow, which also meant I was born in the month of second seed, May. Brynjolf, who took me to the stone that day, was very glad I was born under the Shadow. He told me it is one of the best stars for both thieves and assassins. According to the mod Andromeda, that altered the effects of the standing stones in Skyrim, the Shadow Stone gives 2 powers. The first was Blur, which adds 20% speed to the in combat, and it was a power which I used and abused this power a lot. The second was Hide in Shadows, which makes sneaking much easier under the shade or in darkness. It didn't end just here. There is another power called Shadow Step. It allows the one under the shadow's protection to rush silently at a target within 75 feet without being detected. This power, however, is obtainable after a certain quest. What woke me from my deep thinking was the smell of the sewers that stink. As usual, I was in a hurry to go back to the city and open a sewer manhole in the place I marked on my map. As I got there, the city looked quieter than the time I left. This was the middle of the night after all, and by the position of the moon, 1 hour was left until dawn. I was under my black cloak and thankfully, no one would mind my appearance anyway. There were others like me as usual. As I got closer to Castle Dar's side entrance, I had to walk quietly now. I got away from any light source and started sneaking to the empty marketplace. My target was the window. I had prepared a flask of a highly flammable and violent incendiary bomb and started aiming it at a certain window in the castle. Suddenly, the side door of the castle opened. I was afraid to get spotted, so I hid behind a barrel. I tried to sneak a peek and see who was coming out of the castle this late. I couldn't believe what my eyes saw. Those were Scotty and George speaking with Captain Aldous at the gate. What are they doing here? I could barely calm my heart and breath to return to my sneaking mode again. Time passed slowly and they finally got away. I could feel some eyes prying on me though. It was that annoying owl from before standing on some roof above me. I couldn't afford to alert anyone, so I kept myself hidden until I could notice no magica reaction with my Detect Magica spell. Now, if we excluded that owl, I am totally alone. I prepared the flask again and aimed it to the window, then I used a good amount of power to throw it. It landed in perfectly. The fire grew quickly and some bomb sounds stated so sounding from the castle. The plan is going just perfect. Now, let's run back to the sewer, time is running out. Back to the sewer, I headed directly to the tunnel under the castle. The smell of smoke finally came from it. This meant all bomb flasks had made their effect. Yet that assassin girl was not yet out, damn it. I can go bring her just fine. Taking the corridor to the prison, I could hear the sound of people coughing loudly. They won't die, as long as the fire doesn't catch them. Some people were shouting about the fire and running everywhere as I could feel them behind the wall. These were the guards, I guess. Moving on to the girl's cell, I could feel her presence. She was not moving though. This damn girl knew what time she had to break the wall in, yet she was just lying there? Why am I risking my ass for right now, huh? I had to remove the bricks to check on her quietly myself. I could see her lying in the dark. Was she sleeping now of all times? As I removed them brick by brick, the fire started to extend and illuminate the room. But this? Why did this happen? Who did that to her? I told them not to torture her, but this? This was a bit unneeded. She is breathing. She looked like a bloody rag, but she was still breathing and mumbling something. Damn it. I have to hurry, I must not be seen while I take her out. My hands worked like lightning, and I could reopen the hole in the wall quickly and entered the cell. Hey, do you hear me? I whispered to the girl, who opened her right eye widely. The left was blinded a long time ago, and was already swollen from torture now. Please, that was all she said. She was in no shape to move. I can carry her slowly on my back and move her through the hole. I closed the hole faster than I opened it and carried the girl on my back, then ran to the corridor again. From it to the sewers, I now could cast candlelight to see how much the girl was hurt. This was bad. Really bad. I brought some potions just in case, but this was hard to control now. Kill me, she mumbled. I can only ignore her now. To the man, she was still mumbling, but I was not in the right mood to listen to her. He made me cough, made me talk. I don't care now, just drink this. I brought a watered stamina potion to her mouth, and sipped it slowly. I cast Healing Hands on her. She was responding to the treatment as her breathing started to be faster. After that, I poured a health potion on her wounds. This was effective but a bit painful. It supported the spell I was casting. Turning to my bag, I took out your most plain black robe from the games with some shoes and a hood scarf. She was not moving anytime soon, so I was going to do the dressing. Bounding a dagger with magic, I started cutting the rags on her. Surprisingly, she hid the journal of hers into her clothes, so I stored it away. Anyway, she was stark naked right now, but who cares? I could use these rags as bandages and dressed her in the clothes I brought up. The girl started to look healthier than before, and as I helped her up, she stood to lean on me. "Please kill me," she said. "I told them everything I know." "What exactly did you tell?" I asked while taking her from this place. "I told them everything," and she started speaking about what happened. Apparently, Jord and Scotty were just giving her a visit. Jord made her talk about everything she knew, from who ordered the hit on me and everything else. She didn't know much about the core members in the Brotherhood, so she told him about the hideout in Solitude. This girl was now considered a traitor to the Brotherhood, and in their creed, she must be killed. I don't care about any of that now. I could reach the end of the tunnel, and carried the girl on my back, and ran to the ship. Yet seriously now, how many owls in this night must I deal with? This is so unlucky, damn it. Owls are a sign of bad omen to most Egyptians. Away from John, who was carrying Mabia and running to the docks, Jord and Scotty were running back to see why was there fire in the castle. Captain Aldous went out and told them that there were fire and the assassin girl escaped. They didn't appear to care and left him with thanks. So we were here earlier than them. Let them take her. Unless they have a healer, that girl is as good as dead. Jord was smiling. To assault our dear little nephew. I was going to kill her the minute I saw her ugly face. Scotty was speaking like a beast too, not showing her motherly side at all. But to think it was the Blackbriars, these people are really tired of living. Jord said, "I'll see how will they deal with it this time." While the two beast-like brother and sister were talking to each other, another figure appeared. "You two are up to no good again." A tall and thin man with a hood on his head and a bow on his back came out of the shadow. He had the same red hair and blue eyes like the siblings. "Forseti, so you came out of the ship?" Scotty looked at the man and spoke to him. "I was bored and Jack saw something going on, so he came and whispered to me." As Forseti said that, an owl flew and landed on his shoulder. "Oh, let us hear it, brother." Jord, who was in a good mood, asked with interest. Forseti approached and the light fell on his face. He was much more handsome than his brother Jord. "It appears we have a naughty nephew. According to the vote, we changed the name of the novel from SBTTI Skyrim, but that's too immersive to SDW Skyrim, Dragonborn Within. I hope we didn't make the wrong decision." Chapter 42. Onto the Icicle. I ran with the girl on my back and avoided every eye that can see us. I stuck to the shadow and sneaked around every corner until I reached the ship. Svedal and Rusning were on the deck drinking together, and when they saw a figure board onto the ship, they stood up and faced me. Other sailors took notice and also looked at me. "It's me," I said and removed my hood. "What? When did you get out?" Rusning said. "The servant I mentioned was a bit late, and I went back to pick her up." I said, "Sorry, I somewhat was in a rush." "Oh, is she the one on your back? What happened?" Svedal asked and pointed out. "I found her in an alleyway. Someone must have mugged her. Is there a healer here?" I asked. "What a dull question. I'll go call for Holman. Take her to your cabin, it is cold out here," Rusning said. I thanked him and hurried to the cabin. As I put the girl on the bed and continued casting healing on her, Holman arrived after a minute. "Mara's mercy! Who did that to her?" He was shocked by what he saw. Holman looked like an honest fellow with a black hair and an early facial hair. He was 3 years older than me. I don't know, she was supposed to buy me things from the market, but I found her in an alleyway like this when I went to look for her. I made up a story I already thought of. By the 9. Can't a girl walk safely alone these days? What happened to the world? Julma magically appeared from the door, followed in, and made a sad face. I made up a few things and assured them. I also had to stay beside the girl for a while before we could leave the room for her to rest. As we were getting out, I took out her journal and put it beside her. Can't afford to let her go crazy again. I went out of the ship with the excuse of thanking someone who helped me getting Jullanar to the ship. Jullanar was the name I told them as the name for this girl. I didn't know her real name and made up a name from my past life. Jullanar is a Persian name which meant pomegranate flower. Shame. The name was just wasted on an assassin who tried to kill me. As I got away from the ship, I headed to the East Empire Company. I could see Jullanar was talking with someone there. "Hey," I said and acted as if in a bad mood. Jullanar looked at me, then nodded, then he talked the man away. "This was flashy," he said. "The deed was done, didn't it?" I said. "Overdone in my opinion," he said. "What? Does the guild in Solitude pay up for the damage they cause?" I said with a mocking smile. No, don't get me wrong." Jullanar raised his hands and turned meek. "When I got the message from Delvin that you are a daredevil, I really didn't take it too seriously. Glad to see old Delvin still has an eye for good people." "It's all good and fine, but my ship is going to sail," I said. You want your money? Here. Jullanar gave me a purse and said, "It was a pleasure doing business with you." I didn't say anything to the lizard and turned my back. He stinked. Back to the ship, I stayed in the cabin with the passed-out girl. Her temperature started rising, so I started brewing an herbal remedy to resist fever for her. Damn this Njord, how many times did he pat her? My shoulder is itching when I thought about that. I went outside the room after nursing her for a while. I also cast Heal Other on her. This was a depth-level healing spell that I didn't master it very well, yet it got cast by luck. As I was out of the cabin, I could feel the ship shaking. So it was moving. It is my first time to be on a ship, so I wanted to take a look at the deck. As I went out, I saw many sailors moving around under the order of an elderly man, and the boys from the team were sitting on a crate and talking to each other. I had warped myself with some fur before I got out. The weather now was freezing. As I got close to the boys, they noticed me and emptied a seat. "So, how is the girl?" Holman asked. "She is fine. I brewed her something for the fever that will keep her sleeping for a while," I replied. "Good man, here, something to warm you up," he said and gave me something. It smelled like milk with some seeds in it. "What is that?" I asked. "Don't know," Svidal said. "The sailors made it and they give us when we ask." I tried it and it wasn't bad, yet had no flavor. I could feel alcohol in it though. The ship started to move as the lights started to shine. The scenery was great. On the left of the ship was the docks and Solitude. On the right was the great marshes of Jalmarch. Ahead of us was the big rock of Solitude. "Did you guys hear about this? A fire broke into the castle after we left." Svidal started chatting again, "so the news reached here. I still can see some smoke over Solitude from here too." The ship passed under Solitude and continued sailing with Karth River. The sun started rising, yet it was not getting any warmer. "This is the Sea of Ghosts for you lads. It can make you shiver to the soul." The elderly man who was giving commands to the sailors earlier came close to us and talked. Rusning and the rest stood up, so I tagged along and stood up as well. "This weather is nothing to a Nord, Captain," Rusning said. "We want to introduce you to our new friend here. This is John. He won the tournament and will be the new addition to the college." We got ourselves a champion, eh? "I see, good lad, strong arms, broad shoulders, you'd make for a good sailor. If you were a bit taller I would have mistaken you for one of them fire manies." The captain said, "Name's Geldof and they call me Smiling Hull, Like the ship, lad? This man said a lot of things, but wait a minute, didn't he just say something about the firemanes? Yes, Captain, it's my first time on a ship and it's quite a nice ship, I said. She, lad? The ship is a she, Captain Geldof said. Ah, yes, sorry. But Captain, you just now said something about the firemanes? Aye. The firemanes, if you don't know of them then I don't know if you should or not. That name refers to one of the great clans that don't come into public. No matter how shameful for an old dog like me to admit it, they are the best to sail in a sea or ride in a land. Captain Geldof said, I only thought that you are one of them when I saw your hair and eyes, but you are not as tall, and it would be strange if you board on a ship that is no firemane ship. You ain't one of them, are you, lad? Not that I know of. I am an orphan from Riften, I said. Riften? Far from home, ain't you, lad? He said, no wonder it's your first time in a sea. Ever thought about sailing? I nodded. Want to learn? He asked. I would like to, I said. I was interested. Fine, go untie that robe, but remember it well, never let go of it, Captain Geldof said. I was curious about sailing actually, as it was something I have never done before, so I went to the robe and held it with my left to its end tightly and rounded around my forearm. With the right hand I untied the robe. The boys were looking down for some reason, and some other sailors were grinning. I didn't know what was going on, so I continued untying. As I was done with it, I held with the right hand and was ready to hold it tightly, yet the wind started making yard that carried the mainsail change its direction around the mast. This was not the problem right now. The problem is, I was getting pulled by the robe and started flying. I don't know how it happened, but I fell on the deck, and everyone started laughing at me. This was not nice, you know. The first lesson is, Captain Geldof made an appearance over me, who was lying on my back, saying, never hold that robe alone. If you did, never hold to it. I was in pain from the flight I just took, but I found the strength to stand up while rubbing my back. But you said, I was about to say something, but Captain Geldof interrupted. Learn from the mistakes, lad. As long as they don't kill you, you can learn from them, he said, and acted like some Wizia ***. Are you ready for another lesson? He was grinning. Lady Luck is with us this morning, the wind is fair and the sea is easy, a good time to teach youngsters. I looked at him with no power to retort. As long as I am not learning from another mistake, I said. Ha ha. You'll make them without me even tell you, lad. He said, just do this and do that. Captain Geldof started pointing some jobs for me, and he was right. Even without pointing a mistake, I still did them anyway. I started learning about the ship and the sailing process all day long, and I watched documentaries. I somewhat enjoyed learning something I had completely no experience about. Although I played some sailing games in my past life, there was no experience like this. You learn well, lad. These boys didn't even last the first hour, Captain Geldof said, and looked at Rusning, Holman and Svedal. We are no sailor, old Geldof, we are mages, Svedal retorted. And I am what? A tavern wench? I learned at the college one day like you. Why do you think I work on this ship now? Captain Geldof shouted at Svedal. Svedal didn't retort. Let's see how you fare tomorrow, lad, the captain said, and went away to shout at the sailors. My body is aching, I am going to my cabin, I said to the boys. Fine, just don't miss dinner, Rusning said, and continued what he was doing. Now that he mentioned it, I am so damn hungry. Last time I ate was at the banquet in the Blue Palace, and that felt like ages ago now. Fine, I'll head down and wipe my body, then go eat something. As I was thinking about food and stuff like that, I reached the cabin and opened its door. I was also planning to check on the assassin girl too. I found her sitting on the bed while looking at around. She seemed to have just woke up. Looking good, I said. For someone who was half dead, you somewhat passed all the critical stage. The girl looked at me expressionless. You should have left me to die, she said. Damn it. I guess I should start talking that girl into living now. Chapter 43 Jullanar. I am having exams 3 weeks from now and I am not sure I can do the bonus chapter thing now. I'll keep updating daily until I fix my laptop. I picked up a small round box that contained a bruises healing ointment I bought from Solitude, then sat in front of the girl and started applying it to her face. Not a chance. I said to the girl who wanted to die, "How would I torment you if you died?" I couldn't help but grin. "The Brotherhood won't leave a traitor like me live," she said. I told the Red Man everything. Seems that Njord had done a score on her. Just what did he do to you to make say all that? I couldn't help but ask. She shivered from the question, so I cast calm spell on her. One must know that this girl has a disturbed mentality. So what did he do when you told him what you know? I asked. He just left. He also said that the one who hired me was already dead. She said. Sibby? Yeah, I killed him. I said. You did? She looked and appeared shocked. Do you know what the Blackbriars may do? Yes, but she won't do anything to me, I said. She has already killed most the thugs in Solitude though. I pinned the kill on them. The girl was looking at me surprised by what she heard. So you did, she said. I guess thieves are good with these sort of stuff. I was done applying the ointment now. So, what is your name? I asked. Mabia, she said. Do you still want to die, Mabia? I asked. What choice do I have? She said. The Brotherhood will perform the Black Sacrament if they suspected that I didn't die yet. So she is worried about that. The Black Sacrament is a dark ritual that can be performed by whoever those who want to contact the Dark Brotherhood. That ritual is a way to contact the Night Mother. The Night Mother, an immortal spirit who is revered and worshipped by the Brotherhood. She is only ever met face to face in very exceptional circumstances and is seen as a phantom-like form. When a person prays for the death of another, the Night Mother hears and passes on the details of the prayer to her listener. At this point, the listener informs the speaker, who then goes to meet the hiring party in order to draw up a contract. But still. Don't you know? I asked. Know what? She asked. Astrid, your leader, doesn't follow the teachings of the 5 tenets anymore, I said. What nonsense are you saying? How can this be? I've never met the leader, but my mentor told. Maybe a halted. Wait a minute. How do you know of the name of the leader? Don't you dare look down on how much I know, girl. I know most of the important names in your merry little cult. Viezra, that mentor of yours, Armbjorn, the husband of Astrid. I said and started making an act, but everything was true. Your organization has fallen deeper than what you think. The listener, Alazan Dupre, was killed 8 years ago in Bravel, and the coffin of the Night Mother was lost since then. That also was true. These events happened in the game world, yet not the game, Skyrim, itself. The Elder Scrolls. Legends, a card game that told the story of a certain hero who lives in this world right now. This hero walked on a different path than the hero of the Elder Scrolls V. Skyrim and had his own adventures. One of them was related to the Dark Brotherhood, and he interacted with the big shots from it. He also was the cause of their current decline. Astrid is the leader of the Dark Brotherhood in this day and age. She abandoned the 5 main teachings of the Dark Brotherhood, which were called the 5 Tenets, and converted the group from cultist killers to professional assassins. Hearing this information, Mabia was taken aback by what she heard. That all means that there will be no Black Sacrament on you, I said, and even if there is one, then just live your damn life now and face whatever comes at you later. I finished what I had to say and went away from her. All I care about was a fellow orphan in distress. If she chooses the path of her own demise, then I won't care anymore. This all hard to take in, she said as she looked away. All I ever learned was how to kill. Then just learn how to live, I said. Also you write some crazy nice poems, and I bet you can make a good fry pie. What is fry pie? She asked. It's a pie that you present to someone you want to kill. Its main ingredients are her family members, then you kill him or her after they eat it. I said, didn't they teach it to you? Fry pie is the pie that Arya Stark made for Walder Frey in Game of Thrones. Mabia seemed impressed by what she heard and shook her head. Figures, these people became too soft, I said as I was having fun playing with that girl. I stood up and headed to the door. I'll head out to white myself and I'll bring you something to eat, rest now. Heading out, I went to a cabin that had a tub in it. I took some buckets and filled the tub from the sea. Heating the water with fire magic was a usual practice for mages. Even these sailors learned some spells to do their chores. The tub is a blessing even though the weather outside is freezing. I can now enjoy some nice bath in this dangling ship. As the water is nice and warm, my head started spinning from a thought to an idea. There was much stuff I wanted to do and experience. From this moment onwards I will focus on magic, and become stronger. There is 1 year and I should master most of the spells I couldn't master yet. Mysticism School, also known as the Old Ways, is one of the main 6 schools, but it's not really supported fully by the College of Winterhold. I need to dig into their famous Arcaneum for more information on it. Arcaneum is the library of the college. During my research, I also plan on understanding more about Conjunction School, create my original style in Destruction School, start taking the Illusion School more seriously, learn all the aspects of physical magic from the Alteration School, and seriously make progress in the Restoration School. I found out all of my shortcomings in this tournament and I must admit, I am worse than I thought. I won this tournament because my physical ability. I am also not that talented as I thought. Arger's body movements on equal ground are much faster than me, also Ongium and Farkas are far stronger than me. My superiority lies in 3 talents I have. The first is that I am very talented in mysticism even with the lack of spells and knowledge. My practice in mysticism also made my magicka pool larger than most of my peers. The second is about my body which is very flexible due to my training on my own versions of parkour and MMA. The third is my natural gift in the Thursdayum, one of the reasons I think I am the hero of the game. Adding all that to my knowledge from my past life, it made the person I am today. Damn it, the water got cold. Heat. Just about right. Where was I again? Ah yes, my qualities. I am glad I could see through myself this early. I need all the power I can muster, all knowledge is good, and my memory is sharper the better I control and increase my magicka. I remember a lot of knowledge from my past life which helped me greatly in something like the electromancy. Magic is about understanding the power and I can make some scientific theories about it. I also remember a lot of stuff I read in the wikis. This is all power I have right now and I should make use of. Yet, too rough. None of it is refined. My time in the orphanage gave me a good head start, and my good luck met me with Nurina. I was lucky to meet her alongside all the people I know. That's right. People. My friends. That's what I need more right now. A lot of friends to stand beside me. Wulfar is guaranteed. He would follow me anywhere even if I asked him not to. John Battleborn is a new brother, but I know his quality doesn't lose to Wulfar. Nurina is more powerful and mysterious than I could fathom. I don't like to be greedy, but I can't let go of her guidance. Hilda and these crazy Firemane folk are my next possible ally. I'll let fate decide this one. The people from the college I met so far are good people, but I need to work on this relationship on my own. This will be one of the tasks at hand. Who else? Her. That girl, Mabia. She is alone in this world. She is a fighter too. If I help her, I can make her into a follower of mine. We just need to build trust with each other. Damn it. This water is getting colder without my noticing. Heat. Phew. That was close. Let's stop overthinking for now. I finally can make up some plan for the future. The last thing is the money, but I'll think about that in Winterhold. At least there will be some good ways to earn coin there. Now after this bath, I should get food for Mabia and me. The ship has a big dining cabin, and I could get warm food from there, 2 warm meals for me and Mabia. As I got back to the room, I found that the girl is still sitting on the bed. Sigh. What a helpless creature. I moved my hand to her head and pushed the hood on it away. What appeared was a face of a half-breed girl. She is half Dunmare, half Nord. On the left side of her face are 3 old scratch wounds under her left white blind eye. The right side of her face is actually pretty, her right eye is hazel, and her skin was a bit bluish. She had the most features of a Dunmare, but her pointy ears are shorter than usual elves and her face structure is that of a human. Her black hair reminded me of mine from my past life. Her body was not that tall, yet if she stood, she would reach my shoulders. The rest of her body is quite nice. All in all, if we fixed that girl's face, she will be a hot little treat. I put a tray in front of her and she started wolfing it up. I talked to her while eating. I noticed that she had a few screws loose. Well, I guessed as much. She was brought up on killing after all. After saying this and that, Mabia was not awkward as she felt before and started taking normally. She also told me her story as if nothing, even though it was a tragic one. Apparently, from what I could understand from her, her mother was a Dunmare in Wyndham. There are many refugees there and Nords treat them like S***T. One day, a Nord raped her mother and Mabia was the result of the crime. Normally the Nords wouldn't care and her mother wouldn't be helped out even by the Dunmare folk because she decided to raise the daughter. In a society full with racism like Windhelm, a child between a Dunmare and a Nord will be considered some sort of a taboo child. Both races were at each other's throat since the time the refugees started to flee from Morrowind to Windhelm. The mother decided to take her daughter and leave to a more suitable place for her child. Falkreath was her choice. The mother died after they moved out and she was brought to the orphanage of the Hold. Her unusual appearance caused her to be mistreated, and she escaped to the forest one day. There she was attacked by a lynx and her left eye was wounded before she was saved by an Argonian who later became her mentor and made her into an assassin. This was a sad story. I do sympathize with her, but the only one who can help her now is herself. This ship is heading to Winterhold. Do you have any plans for yourself from there? I asked. Mabia shook her head. She thought for a while then said, Do you have a job for me? I can use someone with your set of skills, I said. Won't that bring you bad attention? Mabia asked. You can act as a maidservant and no one will mind you, I said. So you just want me to do your dirty work in the shadow? She asked. I smiled. I am not really taking advantage of you. I'll give you whatever you wish for as long as I can trust you. Mabia thought for a while. Fine, I don't have any choice left, do I? One last thing, I said. I told them that your name is Jullanar. I think your current name will bring you trouble anyway. She nodded and asked, Jullanar? What kind of a name is that? She asked. It a name for the pomegranate flower from my past life, I nonchalantly said. Ah, right, past life. She looked away while mumbling. Heh. I laughed and said, Wait until you see dragons. Jullanar looked at me again and said, So I am not the only one who hear voices. I think this is my turn to freak out. Chapter 44 To the College. The next 3 days were similar to one another. I would go help the sailors and learn from Captain Geldof. I don't think it's hard for me to navigation an average longboat now. Still, I need a lot of time to understand how to read the sea and the wind. Putting that in mind, I started using magic to achieve that goal. My Detect Magicka spell can now detect more than just magicka. After few days of studying in solitude, I made a breakthrough due to my attempts to read the wind and sea. Due to trying to synchronize my detection with the movement of air and sea, I could detect the magicka more accurately between heaven and earth. This is a groundbreaking development on my part. I was so immersed in the feeling of detecting the magicka around that I forgot to sleep one night. which made Jullanar nag about me, giggling in a creepy manner the next morning. By the way, we are still sharing the cabin now. I left the bed for her and borrowed a few furs and a sleeping bag to sleep on the ground. How gentlemanly of me. Back to the topic. My detection became clearer. I could feel the magicka in the emptiness around me. Dead objects didn't seem to have magicka, so they seemed as the void to my detection, even though my detection can pass through them. Some objects are just harder than others in that aspect. Iron blocks magicka more than wood, for example. Still, I couldn't detect magicka in dead objects. My original goal was to monitor the moment of the air and see, but I never thought I would reach this level from that idea. The detection spells fall under the categorization of the school of mysticism, and it is like having an eye on the back of the head, very useful indeed. Summing my discoveries in a note, I revised what I wrote now and before about the mysticism after all this research. I could make a rough idea, but mysticism techniques are much more than the manipulation of magicka. It can also reach the point of predicting the future and the understanding of space. More accurately, space and time magic can be manipulated by mysticism. This can open tons of possibilities in my understanding of magic, due to the fictional works I read in my past life, as well as the laws of science I still remember. I can think of millions of applications right now. One thing I also noticed and started to understand greatly was the magicka nature. The magicka in the sea was denser than the air, yet felt more alien and strange. I could only note that and put a big question mark beside it. The detect magicka spell right now was turned into detection spell for general detection of many things. Maybe there is stuff it can't detect yet, but I can already see much more than before with it, so I renamed it this way. I don't even need to use my eyes right now. I can just close my eyes and immerse myself in the emptiness around me with such a spell. Truth be told, I just can't stop my addiction to this wondrous feeling. The good stuff didn't end just here yet. With this breakthrough, I could enhance my magicka training technique now. I used Absorb Magicka directly on the magicka between heaven and earth after exhausting my magicka pool to train it and increase its capacity. I am better than your average elf mage at dealing with magicka due to this training. My fanboy soul couldn't help but awaken at that moment and renamed the magicka training technique to magicka cultivation, or cultivation for short, to feel like one of these wuxia novels' main characters. This just felt about right. My so-called cultivation was enhanced by my newly developed detection spell, as I could feel the magicka around me more accurately and absorb it in faster than before. This cultivation was not as perfect or fruitful as it was in the Eldergleam Sanctuary due to the quality and the nature of the magicka around. I can't just live in the sanctuary to cultivate. I remember that there were many places in the game that had a strong natural element, and I should just find one. These places are mostly protected with the guards of nature, the Spriggans. Mysticism has just too many secrets that I don't think one lifetime can uncover, and as much as how beautiful it can be ugly and demonic. An example for its ugliest sides is the necromancy. Necromancy, which means death magic, is one of my top interests in magic. Even though it pushed many of its users to madness, I as well as Nurina are interested in it. Finally, I need to understand the old ways, the old spiritual understandings that belong to the school of mysticism. I'll research that for sure. Those who know the old way are well aware of the existence of the spiritual worlds invisible to those who are uneducated in mysticism. Just as one living in a country but unaware of the political undercurrents may see a new tax or war preparation as the caprices of fortune. The old ways can make one see the world on what is it really are, even to the point of understanding the Edric gods and the Daedric evil god, aka Daedric princes. Thinking about this and that while feeling the sea, I continued to take notes on everything I learned new, from the sailing to the cultivation I made up. This ship was a really peaceful place to research. My notes were, as usual, in my otherworldly native language. This was not uncommon act for a mage. Each mage had his secrets, so they made codes for themselves to cipher, and in my case, my secrets are worth killing for. I took the basics of logical thinking and applied it in every research I made. For example, one needs to learn how to manipulate magicka, aka mysticism arts, before they do applications with it, aka learning spells. For some reason mages not care about such a simple fact. Also, modern earth knowledge like math and algebra helped me sketch out many spells, as it was something similar to high school level mathematics from my past life. Understanding of the scientific laws is also one of the reasons that make magic much easier to understand and control. Take my lightning magic for example. As a human from Earth, I interacted more with electricity than fire or frost, and have an understanding about it. This is why I was much better in it compared to the other elements, following that with fire, which I am really good at, as it appeared to be due to bloodline ability. From Nurina's explanation, finally all Nord mages are really good at frost magic, and I am no exception, but I am not into it very much. If my knowledge goes public, I think mages will go crazy over it. Some might think that, if I went public with it, I may not need to worry about money or anything like that. Wrong. Mages are no normal creatures. Maybe Nord mages are good people due to nature, but the others are a greedy bunch. They always spy at each other work, and many times steal from each other. This even happened in the game many times. If someone knew about my magic more, than it's just an enviable natural gift that a great mage like Nurina brought up, I might get killed or abducted in no time. I always remembered that Chinese saying about the man who did nothing wrong to get killed for, but he only owned a jade ring that all people wanted. I don't remember the correct saying. This world is not a dog-eat-dog world like one of those wuxia novels, thank goodness, but things tend to get like this between power holders like mages. They always want the knowledge that others discovered. I am no exception. Not even my past world is an exception. Nations always assassinated each other's nuclear scientists and stole their research. That's all there is to it. My knowledge is my secret weapon. I can only pass it down to those who are loyal to me, to those who deserve risking my life for. Master, Master. A voice woke me up from my deep overthinking. It was Jullanar. I told her to call me that in public so no one suspects anything, yet she always did it with a scary gaze. I knew she would hate it. Finally awake, huh? You were into one of those deep thinkings of yours again, she said and lowered her voice. It started to creep me out. For our little Jull to get creeped out by me, I am not sure either to feel proud or freak out myself, I said. I actually become very close with her these past few days. She is not as crazy as I thought, at least not a full-time crazy. Her personality changes greatly between night and day. In the daytime, she becomes a tsundere, not my favorite type, but she becomes as moody as cats, somewhat cute in my opinion. In the nighttime, she changes into her crazy usual self. Kinda mysterious, but I think her mentality is not that stable. She also started to walk yesterday, and recovered most of her strength by today. She now goes around all the ship to spend time, and reports to me from time to time. I don't care how should you feel, that Rusning is looking for you, she said. Okay, thank you, I said, then stood up and went to where Rusning usually sits. As I saw him, I found that Faralda and the rest were there too. Hurry up and get your things, Rusning said. We are at Winterhold. I was taken aback and looked around. Winterhold was at the sea, and I could see nothing that resembles it from the game just yet. Hee hee. Svidal laughed. Don't look around, look up. He pointed at the sky for some reason, and I followed with my eyes. Sweet baby Talos. I couldn't help it. That was too absurdly absurd. Welcome to the college, lad. Captain Geldof came from behind and laughed out, but I paid him no attention. You expressions are priceless, Rusning said and patted my shoulder. What is this? I said while not holding my shock anymore. What I saw was something out of a fairy tale. This is not the College of Winterhold I knew. In the game, the College of Winterhold had the same size as the other castles and palaces in Skyrim. It was a research and education facility created by an ancient and immortal Nord archmage. His name was Jullanar. He created this college on an inverted pyramid of rock that juts out of the sea. My theory is that he made that inverted pyramid himself. The building itself was a fortress-like, arranged around a large central courtyard. If we look at this fortress-like college from above, we will see a large circular building surrounding the courtyard, and 3 smaller circles representing the towers on the large circular building. Each center of a tower is 120 degrees apart from the others too. The college's main, largest and widest tower is the Hall of the Elements, which is used for all kinds of magical practices. It holds the famous Arcaneum Library as well as the Archmage's quarters, while accommodations are provided in the 2 separate towers, the Hall of Attainment for the students and the Hall of Countenance for the teachers and the staff. This is what I know from the game, and it appears I am not mistaken either. But this building is too large and too high, larger than anything I have ever seen, and its height is scary. I actually thought about it. The difference in size between the game and the real world is big, sometimes 1/10. But the game didn't give the college any justice. The college was something like 100:1 from the game. That inverted pyramid the college stood was very high, that it resembled a tower with a thinner base. Add that to the mist of the Sea of Ghosts. This college looked like a fortress on the clouds. "Wipe that dumb face of yours and go pick your things," Faralda shouted at us. "The sun is about to set and you've done nothing." I was woken up by this shout. I guess I was shouted at too. "Let's just go pick up things." Running back to the cabin, Jullanar stood beside me waiting for orders. I carried my chest on my back with a rope and donned my sword, wearing the robin armor that I bought, while Jullanar carried 2 knapsacks that had our things. Going back to the deck, I found everyone else was ready. Some servants started getting ready to move the crates to the college. The docks in Winterhold seemed really simple, as the only ship here was the Icicle. The rest were some small fishing boats. Now, after 5 days on a ship, I get to set foot on land once again. Never thought I'd miss that feeling. Just as we started to go down, I could finally feel that stable feeling of land. It doesn't dangle like a ship anymore. It felt so damn safe. But for some reason, my brain was dangling on its own. This is probably an after effect from a sea voyage. Winterhold was not there yet. The city itself is much higher than the sea level. After the great collapse that swallowed most of the city in the sea, the shore became like a high slope, and one can hardly go up or down between the city and the sea. But it seemed that there is something different from the game. In addition to the dock, there are many wooden steps that were installed on the slope that would make going up and down much easier. As the cargo was being loaded down, I instructed Jullanar to keep an eye on the crates that belonged to me and followed Faralda to the college. Now let's be college students all over again. Chapter 45: Nurina's Demand. Normally, we don't accept students this late after the novice entrance exam, but exceptions can be made. Faralda said, "I would normally ask you to perform your skill, but I have already witnessed it." As we were climbing the steps to Winterhold, Faralda kept talking about the acceptance and all that stuff. In the game, the one who tests the player is Faralda herself, but in reality, the college accepts many students every year, and from what Nurina told me, there is a door test and a written test. The door test is the test that the player has to do in the game. It's just a performance of the magical skill. Believe it or not, there are fools who try to enter the college with no skill, so the college can't just accept anyone and turn them away at the door. The written test is the one I know from my past life. Nothing strange here, as it is another piece of cake for this handsome young man. My beloved Nurina is your adoptive mother, so I am not sure if I should make things more difficult for you or not. Faralda said. Damn it. This woman started having scary ideas. You have my blessings, teacher, I said with no hesitation. Not exactly no hesitation. I already thought about this situation and decided to get on Faralda's good side. Then we'll have no problems. What school will you specialize in? Faralda asked. I am a mystic, I said. Mystic? That was Rusning and his gang. I didn't reveal any of that before. I thought as much, Faralda said. Your magicka output is stronger than any Nord I know, but we closed the mysticism major in the college many years. No talents or knowledge in that art appeared in the last 100 years, not after those people disappeared from the world. The last part was said in a low voice. You're talking about the Sijiks, teacher? I asked. You know of them, boy? Faralda appeared to be surprised. Nurina really did teach you a lot. Sijiks? What is that? The chatterbox Svidal jumped into the conversation. Seriously? You don't know of them? I was taken aback myself, looking at the other four. They looked as ignorant as him. You guys too. They shook their heads. I looked at Faralda, but she just sighed and looked away. Ahem. This handsome young man will enlighten you then, I said and cleared my throat. Just get over with it. They became irritated. Well, you see, long ago the Aldmer, elder elves, worshipped their ancestors as gods, but due to changes in the world, gods had to change too. As the change of the pantheon was accepted by most, some elders refused the change, and left the Isle of Somerset home of elves to the Isle of Artium in the north of it, and called themselves the Psijic Order. Their main focus and study was the mysticism, or what they preferred to call, the Elder Way or the Old Way. That was even before the First Era. The Order has advised kings and monarchs since then, yet had no interest in power themselves. You may not know this, but two of the most famous mages in history, Venus Galerian, founder of the Mages Guild, and Manimarco the Dreadful Necromancer, were raised by the Order and grew up together from close friends to archenemies. I said all of that, yet the steps were not over yet. Impossible, Svefna said. Do you know how unbelievable what you said just now is? The great Venus Galerian and the King of Worms grew up under the same organization? It's true, as much as it pains you. A hero like Venus Galerian was once a close friend to Manimarco. Faralda said. Continue, Boyd. Manimarco, the King of Worms, the Mayor Asterisk who sold the world. An elf necromancer who was expelled from the Psijic Order and turned himself into a lich and almost caused the end of the world we know, being the agent of Molag Bal the Daedric Prince, whose sphere is the domination and enslavement of mortals. Asterisk human is man, elf is mare. Venus Galerian, on the other hand, was a great archmage and the founder of the Old Mages Guild, which he used to teach the world about the schools of magic, the categorization, that was established by Archmage Shalader, and also created the simplified tools of enchanting and alchemy we know today. Venus Galerian left the Psijic Order disappointed from his master, who didn't stop Manimarco, and just left him to do his evil in the world. Venus Galerian raised an army of mages to stop Manimarco in a battle that both died in. The Psijic Order is considered the strongest magic organization, the specialized in mysticism, and also brought up these two great mages who were students of mysticism themselves. I said as I finished my lesson. This sure is a lot. Jolma, the girl who avoided me the most, was the first to comment. If mysticism is that great, why doesn't our college teach it seriously? Holman asked. Simple. Rusning replied, if an art is that great, then how rare are the people talented in it? Don't you remember what teacher Tolfter always says, the more precious the rarer, and the opposite is correct. As they all hummed at what Rusning said, Faralda nodded her head with a pleased face. What a rare occasion. I think testing your knowledge is of not necessary now, she said. You already know more than our so-called elites. Mwahaha. Behold the power of the wiki. As she said that, we finally finished climbing the step. I was not that out of breath, but these steps are scary annoying. I am starting to worry about Jullanar now. As I started to take a look around, I saw the college's bridge on my left. The bridge of the college didn't look any different than the game, which made me scared. I hate that bridge so much. The bridge is too narrow, and because of the great collapse, it lost some of its parts, which made it looks like a bridge across the abyss. My only wish right now is the fear of heights which I had in my past life didn't cross over with me. This is my first time on a place that high in this life. The bridge can allow 3 men to walk side by side, so it wasn't bad, but it felt like a walk through the clouds in that thick sea mist. We turned to walk the bridge, so we naturally got to climb it up because the college's level was still higher than the land level. That time I remembered something and turned around to look behind me. So it was like that. The city of Winterhold, a story full of tears and pain, once a prosperous city, a capital of Skyrim, the only place that rivaled the beautiful Solitude, now in that appearance. I thought that Winterhold would be bigger than this, as it was the case with every city so far. There was always that large scale of size between the game world and the real world. But this is sad. The city it was, is now but a petty small town on ruins upon ruins of wood and rubble, frozen by the cold weather. The time seemed to be frozen, as the image the place gave was a vivid one of how brutal the collapse was. Not knowing the reason behind the great collapse, some Nords suspect the college as the cause of the tragedy. After all, it was barely hurt by that disaster. The collapse itself was a massive tsunami that took Winterhold by surprise, year 4 times 10 to the power of -122. Winterhold, which was originally isolated, couldn't receive help, and was left to decline until today. After 74 years, only a few buildings were rebuilt on the rubble. The reason of this tsunami was unknown. Some say that the eruption of the Red Mountain in Morrowind on 4 times 10 to the power of -5, and it had an effect. Some say the college caused it. Some say it was caused by a dragon that was seen over the sea in Morrowind. I am not sure which reason it was, but I'd rather say it was karma. There were many Dunmer refugees after the eruption of the Red Mountain, and the Nords drove them out with no mercy. It's sad, but don't let that get into your mind, Rusning said. These people could have helped themselves long ago, but a certain Jarl made his life goal to get rid of the college, then rebuild his town. I followed behind Rusning but couldn't help but ask, "What do you mean?" "Jarl career, of course," Svedal said. He declared many times that he would one day wait for the rise of the true sons and daughters of Skyrim to get rid of the mages that plagued his hold. Like anyone knows what he means by that? Wait a minute. True sons and daughters of Skyrim, is it? I already guessed that reason, but the Jarl of Winterhold would join the rebellion to get rid of the college. How stupid! This Jarl wants to wage war at the college at some point then. This was predicted even though it didn't happen in the game. The upcoming rebellion that will cause the civil war can't be stopped, as it seemed that it was already being powered by some strong parties. This is depressing. I just feel that thinking about the tons of things I have to deal with is increasing like crazy. Let's just get over this bridge for now. Yes, one step at a time, and everything shall be solvable. The bridge is made of stone. It's pretty much solid, even with all the damage that was dealt to it by the great collapse. Haven't the college tried to fix the bridge? I asked Faralda. Please be our guest, she said. The way of building something like this college is beyond any knowledge we have. So it was like that. It must be tough to be in decline. As we reached the end of the bridge, a metallic gate made from bars that were shaped into a circle that has an eye with the 5 edges coming from it, the symbol of the college. Approaching the gate, it opened itself. Now that's what I call magic. Beyond was a whole different scenery, not quite like the college I knew. The one I knew was a circular courtyard with a round wall surrounding it and linking the 3 towers, and that wall had many large empty windows and a roof bridge on top of it linking the higher floors of the towers too. Mostly that was in front of me, but that was not the case. The round wall I used to know was turned into round corridor linking all towers, and its windows were sealed with glass. The round corridor itself was well closed from all sides and was warmed by magic. The usually empty courtyard can be accessed, but it seemed that there are two facilities there, a short glass structure on each side. From what I was told, these are greenhouses that provide suitable conditions to grow alchemy ingredients. At the end of the courtyard and opposite to the entrance lies a statue of a mage posed as if he was casting a spell. This is the statue of Jullanar, the founder of the college. Front of the statue was a fountain of magical energy known as the focus points. This is one of 4 and one of the things I am really interested in, but not for now. Behind the statue is a gate that returns one back to the circular corridor, and directly behind it is another gate to the biggest tower in the college, the Hall of the Elements. On the left side to the entrance of the college I am standing at is the Hall of Attainment, and on the right is the Hall of Countenance. This is how the college looked from the outside. It kinda looked like the one from Immersive College of Winterhold mod, but it was much larger and everything was wider and taller. I actually didn't use the mod. There is a certain disturbing quest that comes along with it, even though it was an excellent mod. Impressive, isn't it? Holman said. For years ago when I arrived here I had the same look on my face. Holman was the oldest one in the team. He is 18 and one of the students that are specialized in both destruction and restoration. Of course it's impressive, Faralda said. Even though the place hasn't changed since the last 50 years, it still is one of the best magical schools in Tamriel. As I was chatting with the group at the entrance, a woman in a college robes came from the side. Welcome back, Faralda, she said. I trust we can hear some good news about the tournament. Oh, Mirabelle dear, I can say we achieved the primary objective of our journey, Faralda said with her cold usual tone. That was Mirabelle Irvine, an NPC I know. She is the one who deals with the college management affairs. She is also a master wizard elemental mage. The primary? I thought it was impossible, but well done indeed. Archmage Savos can have some good news for a change, she said. What about the secondary objective? We faced some complications, Faralda said. An opponent that was too tricky to handle. Wasn't the secondary objective supposed to be the easy one? Mirabelle looked annoyed. A complication, I said. Faralda said and turned to me. I brought the culprit along. Huh. Mirabelle looked at, not understanding what was going. Hello, my name is John, and people call me John Dare, I said and stretched my hand for a shake. You are Nurina's son? Mirabelle jumped back in a fright. So you won the tournament? She knew about me. Nurina seems to have been chatting about this handsome young man. Something wrong? Faralda noticed something and asked Mirabelle. It became a headache now. Why did he win? My workload will get overloaded now. Mirabelle made a pained face and held her head. Something must have happened. Get yourself together. What is going on? Faralda's patience was running short. I also wanted to understand. Sigh. You see, when Nurina Aran returned to the college over a month ago, she headed directly to the Hall of the Elements and registered a new student with the name of John Dare. She declared in front of everyone that she adopted that boy, and he became her legacy apprentice. Archmage Savos was frightened, but all he received was more of the crazy demands of hers. They started fighting and shouting over it every day and night. Normally when two archwizards fight no one from the lower ranks can interfere, but it reached the point where it became unbearable. Tofter came with a good idea to end the fight and all agreed to it. It was a bet about who would win the tournament. If it is our team, then Savos' word will go, and if it is John Dare, then Nurina will get what she wants. Mirabelle said all that with the face of someone who wants to cry. What did Nurina want? Faralda asked. Nurina wants to quit the position of the head of the Conjunction Major, Mirabelle said. She wants to reopen the Mysticism Major. Chapter 46. Welcome to the college. I was making some research here and there in the wiki lately. I noticed some mistakes I made and I am thinking of rewriting some old chapters. I will put R in the title, Also, the magical effects and theories have some upgrades, so I'll include them in a later chapter as John upgrading his theory. Enjoy. Star. Well, that sure sounds like her, Faralda said as if she foresaw it. She can't just leave for 15 years then pop up like nothing happened and demand whatever she wants. Mirabelle was still depressed. By the way, what are the primary and secondary objectives? I asked as I remembered something they talked about. When we decided to enlist a team from the college into the tournament, we had a goal. Mirabelle said as she gestured for us to follow her. The main objective was to show the people of Skyrim how magic can be wielded, and it is no dangerous power that would cause the horrors they accuse magic with. To do so, we picked a select elite of Nord students from our college and enlisted them. That was the main goal, but we mostly thought it was impossible as no one would change their opinion from just a show of power. Faralda took the explanation from Mirabelle. Still, it actually worked thanks to you. To him/me? Mirabelle and I questioned in unison. Correct, a simple show of power wouldn't make us look any good, but when you challenged us, things turned from that into a competition of talents in the same field. People got interested into it by the time, Faralda said. Not just that, but the other opponents from the different teams who knew how to use magic actually became not shy and some used it. Well done. At least we can be thankful to you in that regard. Mirabelle said, still, we need to stop Nurina before it's too late. I don't want to deal with one more department, you guys help me out. I am not interested. Faralda said, my beloved Nurina can do whatever she wants. I am a mystic, so I am getting benefited from it. I bailed out too. I heard how amazing mysticism can be. I want to learn about it. Svedal jumped in. Don't you know that Venus Galerian was a mystic? How can I let down such an opportunity? Svefna, who was a fanatic of Venus, made her opinion too. Even the other guys had some opinion about mysticism. No, you guys can't do this. You just can't, this is cruel. Mirabelle looked like she was about to cry. Most Nords are tall, and an Altmare like Faralda is ridiculously tall like her people. The pitiful Mirabelle was a Breton, who are short people. Looking at the scene from the side, it looked like a child was being bullied by a bunch of adults. It was just that pitiful. Fine. Mirabelle stomped on the ground and walked ahead alone. We still followed behind her. The circular corridor was actually vast and had a lot of stuff here and there. One notable thing was the vendors on the outer side of the corridor standing in some stalls. They appeared to be students that deal with all sort of stuff. Soul gems, clothes, alchemy and more. Some were even selling food or small animals. One more thing was noted, it was cats. Cats here, cats there, cats everywhere. There were tons of cats that my soul was having a hard time staying in its flesh vessel. It wanted to go out and pat all these cats. Ojiski. Deep breath. That's right, everything will be Daijibu. The corridor serves as our marketplace. As students come to the college from everywhere, most find a hard time earning money. For that, the college arranged a market idea for them. Rusning said, this was also an aftermath of the Great Collapse, as Winterhold started cutting ties with us. Where can these guys bring supplies from? I asked as I knew how Winterhold itself didn't have much to offer. Why do you think the college has its personal ships? Holman said, Captain Geldof is the one who does the supplying. His ships travel from Winterhold to Solitude, Dawnstar and Windhelm just to get us supplies. He, of course, benefits the most. Then what about the city? Why don't they work with the captain? I asked. Do you think the Jarl will let them? This bastard is like a leech spell. If you don't get rid of it, it will devour you slowly. Svedal, who was strangely silent, started speaking with a heavy voice. He bullies anyone that make deals with the college or Capitan Geldof. He even made a prison in a frozen cave on some island. The mood turned heavy as he spoke. No one can touch him. Even the college can't do anything to him. Not even Solitude can have news about the hold. He is the Jarl is the law, and in an isolated hold like Winterhold, what do you think people can do? Even if we ran away, we'll either die in the sea or never return. Svadal's voice was sad, so sad. I think I stepped on a landmine here. What was even more unexpected was Faralda. She patted his back for some reason. For an Altmare lady to get off her high horse and pat a Nord boy. What kind of past did this guy have? I can't really ask about that, so I remained silent. Still, what is really going on in Winterhold? From what I remember, Riften was the most corrupted and Markarth was the most violent. And from what he said, this town has a high level of corruption. People oppressed by a ruler, progress in living is not allowed, people can barely leave or die trying. Seemed like a country I used to live in once. We kept walking in the big round corridor. Unlike any other marketplace, this one was a quiet and clean one, unless for those whose jobs require some noise. I could see an orc boy making some metalwork with magic, this my first time seeing an orc. It seemed that the college made some laws for its grounds and enforced it with its own guard. College guard seems to be students with a duty of law enforcement. I guess this is necessary after all. Walking past all that gave me the idea of how big this college can be, I am really looking forward to what it has to offer. As we finally reached the big gate of the Hall of the Elements, it was wide open for the students that were coming and going. The atmosphere of that tower is similar to what a college should feel. Beyond that gate is a wide entranceway that led to a very vast circular hall with a high roof. It is as vast as a basketball stadium with a large Magicka focus point fountain in the middle of it. This is the first floor of the tower, and the hall of practicing and teaching. All the big exams happen here too. In the entranceway, there used to be 2 doors on the left and right, and behind them were the stairs, but that was in the game. In reality, however, there were no doors, the stairs were directly open and were much wider. Now it felt more like a college. You guys wait here. I'll inform the Archmage of your arrival, Mirabelle said and walked to the stairs. I am going to look for Nurina. Faralda declared her purpose and turned around. Where can I find her? The Arcaneum, Mirabelle said without looking back. I started looking around in the hall on the first floor. The guys told me what are the Magicka focus points. Apparently, there are 4 of them, one in the circular courtyard outside and one on each tower. They are used to make the Magicka regeneration much faster to those who are around them. Also they power up the enchantments that protect the college and serve in many other purposes. These are one of the big things that were made by the founder, Archmage Shalater. After that, they told me about the ranks of the college. The ranks in the college were pretty interesting. When you join the college you become a student. Students are the lowest rank, but you get to stay in the Hall of Attainment dormitory, the one where many students live in the same room. Also you can access its library and become allowed to learn most of the novice spells. You can't open a stall to do business, but you can be someone's helper. Students get to stay in the college for 1 year. If they didn't rank up they will get expelled. The next rank is the apprentice. This rank has more privileges. You get to move from the dorms and have your own room on a higher floor. You will have to choose a school to get specialized in, but you also can learn from all schools as you wish. You can access the library of the apprentices where you get to learn the apprentice level spells. You can have your own stall and do your business. The time limit of that rank is 2 years. If you don't rank up you get expelled. The rank after it is the Evoker. This rank is very sensitive for a mage because you can access the Adept level spells and finally access the Legendary Arcaneum. This is the official graduation rank, and after it, you get to call yourself a mage. It is also time limited, as one can to stay as an Evoker 4 or 5 years. After it, you get to graduate or be expelled. By the way, the college's team of 5 in the tournament are Evokers. Graduation opens all sorts of careers suitable for a mage. Jarls have more than just one court mage. Unlike the game, even though Nords don't like mages, magic is the force of this world. The only Jarl who doesn't employ mages is probably Career, Jarl of Winterhold. The other path after graduation is another ranking up, and here where things get interesting. The next rank up is the Scholar rank. To rank up you need to submit a research of a spell you created or a discovery in the field of magic. This is one of the reasons why mages bite each other's asses all the time. The rank Scholar means you are an official of the college. You get to access anything unless it was marked as classified. You also get to move to the Hall of Countenance with the other staff and have a chamber for yourself. You'll get a handsome monthly payment too. Basically, this is the dream. But there are duties too. Jobs around the college are either in the teaching, the alchemy lab, the enchanting hall, or the healing services. There are also requests that are available for all ranks, and the college gets a fee from them. The rank Scholar rank is a job and has no time limit, yet some practices are limited under no clear permission or excuse. There are no tradable spells after adept level spells. One either create his own, acquire it by a mean, or from a personal mentor if he/she is under one. In my case, I am Nurina's evil minion and I was promised to see her big spells. Up until now I haven't seen any spell beyond adept spells. This was also depressing, but I guess I'll have to recreate the expert and master level spells from the game or think of cooler ones. After a long time of study and a big contributions, one can rank up to the wizard rank. This is the beginning of powerhouse career. You can be a respectable member of the college and a high official. You also can access the big tomes of knowledge and give lectures to students in the big hall. You also get to represent the college in the official business. After another long ages of study, you can finally rank to be a master wizard. Don't think of anything funny. The ranking to the word master is enough to make you a celebrity in Tamriel, and all things move from your way when you walk around. The college may leave you to your business, but if you decided to stay, you can be the head of a department or the manager of a certain task. Names like Talfdir, Colette Marantz, Finest Jester, Dravis Nellerin and Mirabelle Irvine are the heads of each department and the big dogs around the college. It also seemed that Faralda is not the head of the destruction department yet. Mirabelle Irvine is the head and also the manager of the affairs. After the rank of a master wizard there is the rank of the archmage. This is the rank that they put just there to say, no one is better than us, so F***K off. These guys are crazy strong, dragons level strong. There is no rank behind it as no one cares about any ranking at that point. Of course, there is a scary difference between the archmages themselves. You can't compare our friendly neighborhood Archmage Savos Aran to someone like Archmage Shaladar or Archmage Venus Galerian. This guy got his ass kicked in the game in an unsightly manner. I said before I will use the ranks of Oblivion, but I found that the college has its own ranks that were cut from the game. I will use that useful cut content here. Speaking of the devil, Mirabelle came down with a Dunmare behind her. His robes looked really grand and clean. He also walked in a proud manner and looked at us with lazy eyes. I suppose your tournament idea went well, Mirabelle. Even though we can't brag about winning as I was planning to, we still got ourselves some good reputation, he said in a slow and a lazy voice. Yes, Archmage, Mirabelle said. That is our team here. Well done, everyone. Even though it wasn't a win, I am still going to reward each of you with an adept tome of your liking, he said, then looked at me. And I suppose you are the new source of our headache. WTF. You say that to Nurina if you have the marbles. And what's with this manner of talking? Are you really her relative? I remember Nurina not agreeing with him in every piece of news she got from the college. She always said that he loves appearances and coveted the position of the Archmage, not caring about how much it would affect the political view if he became one. John Dare. I introduced myself. Quite the arrogant name, he said. Girls love it, I replied. Ha. I suppose they do. He laughed and said, Congratulations on your win and welcome to the college. Remember, what you learn here will last you a lifetime. Several, if you're talented. Thank you, Archmage, I said. He is surprisingly nice. I know some of his background, but Nurina's opinion of him may have affected his image to me a bit. He left back to the stairs and Mirabelle dismissed the rest. I was helplessly alone. "I'll show you to the dorms," she said and headed out, so I followed. "Nurina has informed me of your talent as a mystic. I am not surprised. Many Nords has the talent, but it is wasted by their magic phobia. The big and hidden clans always associated themselves with the talent. I just hope my work doesn't get overloaded with this new department again," she said with a broken soul. "What is teacher's job?" I asked. Sigh. "I manage the destruction department, but my most important work is planning for the college's future, deal with applications and the public affairs," she said. "So, there is no one to take the destruction department burden from you?" I asked. "Only Faralda, but that would take time for her to become a master wizard," she said. "That hard?" I was taken aback. Faralda is supposed to be a master when the game starts. "Do you think the master rituals are easy?" she said in an annoyed tone. "The destruction school may seem the most popular school on the outside, but every research we do is life-threatening. Faralda is an excellent mage, but a single mistake in magic is a disaster. In the rituals, no one can predict the frequency of the magical waves at that time, and no one is stupid enough to stand beside a master spell researcher and sense it for them." That was a lot of nagging she just said. I still think I can solve that problem, but it will take some time for me to finish the idea. I'll contribute it to the college afterward. After saying this and that, a figure in a black robe and a hood approached. It came to me and raised a part of the hood. "Nurina? What AR?" I was about to say something, but she put her hand on my mouth. "Shush, you idiot," she said in a low voice. "I am going to my chambers. You find me there. If a stupidly tall high elf girl asked about me, don't tell her where I went." The situation seemed weird, but I nodded as Nurina started running away. Mirabelle looked at me and I shrugged my shoulders to her. Not long after, another person stopped us. A stupidly tall high elf indeed. I mean Faralda. Where did she go? I smell her around here. She was looking around. "Scary. Stalkers are scary." "She sneaked to her chambers," I said. "Sorry, Nurina. I am a bad minion." "I knew it," Faralda said and ran towards the Hall of Countenance with vigor. My laughter leaked out and my shoulders started shaking. Mirabelle was looking at me and sighed for the 1,000th time this day. Sigh. Looks like our peaceful days are over. Chapter 47: Lost Magic. Important with the spirit of remastering the novel, some changes happened. 1. Many spells and theories will be changed into more realistic ones, including the spells from the game. I think most of you can find it more immersive if we used Healing Hand spell to the normal healing, disregarding the target. After all, if you aim it at yourself it's healing spell, if you aim it at another then it's Healing Hand spell. The game made many spells from the same idea many times, like Turn Lesser Undead, Turn Undead, and Turn Greater Undead. We can make that just a damn one spell and get over with it. 2. Mod spells are really ineffective, because they are just revamping of the game spells with no real use. I'll use the useful ones and change some stuff. For example, Long Stride will be Hasten or Accelerate, like that. 3. Chapter 12 was remastered. All remastered chapters have R in the title. Now enjoy. Star. I don't know what Mirabelle meant by peaceful days, but I will have fun as usual. That's the normal plan I go with. Mirabelle told me more stuff I already knew, but there was something important. Nurina said that you would take the exam of the ranking at the end of the month. The higher the rank, the better the benefits, so make sure to study for it, she said. Isn't that next week? I asked. Yes, we hold the ranking exams every 4 months. It's okay, no matter how hard the exam you can do it the next time, she said. How many times I can take the exam on the same day? I had an idea, so I asked. Excuse me? She looked strangely at me. I mean, when I finish the ranking exam to apprentice, can I take the exam to evoker on the same day? Huh? You think it's easy? Normally, it's one exam at a time. You'll have to wait for the next exam to rank up. She said, and are you that confident to pass the exam? Simple, I don't pass, Nurina kills me. I said, that's the truth though. The angry side of Nurina is scary. Fine, I wish you luck. The new department will be officially announced after the exam. Nurina managed to rope in some teachers and students too. She said. They looked away. What's that noise? There was indeed some noise, someone was shouting. It came from the direction of the Hall of Attainment. Some servants were making a fuss with another one who appeared to bring a lot of crates with them, seemed not permitted. Oh crap, these are my crates. And that's Jullanar. Ahem, is something wrong? I approached Jullanar and asked. These people don't want to let master's luggage in. They keep saying that a student can't bring all this to a normal dorm. She said, then whispered, 1 more minute and I'll kill them. The last part was said in a cold tone. I unconsciously broke into cold sweat. I couldn't help but smile wryly to this murderous girl. I have to act now. These crates are yours? You can't take them unless you have a private room, Mirabelle said. Jullanar was about to retort, but I poked her a bit hard. The one in front of you is a master wizard, damn it. She can barbecue us with a finger. Sorry about that. I forgot to tell the maid that these crates were to be sent to Nurina's chambers. Clumsy me. I hurriedly thought of something. Truth is, half of them belongs to her, so that was a half-lie, I guess. Okay, Mirabelle said and looked to a servant. Take them to the Hall of Countenance, the top floor. But Mistress Mirabelle, these crates are insanely heavy, we almost broke our backs carrying them here. The servant guy said. Here, Mirabelle said and cast a spell that gives a green hue, similar to my hasten spell. Is this feather spell? I wondered out loud. Correct, Mirabelle reacted. This spell is feather spell from the alteration school. It falls under the aspect of weight and the effect of resist. Basically a resist weight spell. It can make stuff lighter. I haven't learned it yet, but it's an important spell I plan to learn. When Mirabelle cast Just It Now, that was no normal cast. She cast a lingering effect on a dead object. Dead objects can only be enchanted to maintain an effect like resist weight. To cast on them is like this needs maintaining the effect for some time, but it's hard to control. It needed to be cast continuously or the spell would be broken. This just now was a show of might. One more thing. Your maid can't stay in the dorms. Unless you have your own room. Mirabelle said, you need to figure that out quickly. Yes, ma'am. Mirabelle showed me my place inside the dorms. I'll stay here for 1 week, before I take the exams to rank up. My roommates would be 2 Nord twins called Borver and Rondi, and 1 Argonian called Ilasti. I think I heard of these people in the game, but strangely, I have no impression. NPCs from Cut Content. After saying introductions, I followed Mirabelle out and she handed me something. My college uniform. It's just a sleeveless robe and a hooded mantle with the college insignia imprinted on them. One can wear them over clothes. You might ask I was accepted without an examination. Well, I am the legacy student of a big shot. If they put me under an exam, then that's an insult to Nurina. Back to the topic. I took Jullanar and went to the Hall of Countenance. Mirabelle said that Nurina lives on the top floor. Unlike the Hall of Attainment, which had its first floor into a noisy dining hall and a library, with the dorms on the second. The Hall of Attainment had a very classy cafeteria and a place to relax in peace on the first floor. The second was a research facility with a lot of enchanting tables and alchemy stations around. This was a proper workplace. The third and above was the quarters of the scholars and the wizards. The master wizards and beyond the rank took the highest floors. Both towers had magica focus points in the center, as all floors were circular and every floor had an open circular hole at the center that allows the magica fountain to flow up. One thing must be noted, that some magicians that are skilled in alteration can use the energy of the fountain to float up and down like an elevator. How enviable! Noobs like me have to take the stairs. Not much later, we were on the top floor. I could tell Nurina's chambers by the crates in front of the door. After knocking on the door, I heard some footsteps coming. Who opened the door was a beautiful Dunmare lady. That was not Nurina. She has a brown hair with the same Dunmary skin and eyes. Added to that was a war paint on the sides of her face. "May I help you, students?" she asked. "Ahem. Excuse me, I am here for Nurina. Isn't this her place?" I said with a smile. "The first rule when you see a beautiful lady is to make a good impression." "Arch-wizard," the lady said. "Excuse me." I didn't understand what she wanted to say. "Lady Nurina or Arch-wizard Nurina? She's not some friend of yours, student," the lady said in a scolding tone. I could hear Jullanar giggling, "This damned scoundrel." My smile turned into a crumbled one. "Good impression," they said. "I think this is what we call a disaster impression." Ahem. Excuse my rudeness for not introducing myself. I kept my polite attitude. "I am her adopted son." The lady got taken aback. She looked at me up and down. I was wearing my travel pants and a gray shirt with the new student sleeveless robe, as well as my Skyforge saber. "You are John?" she asked. "Looks like I am kind of famous nowadays." "Yes, I was saying yes, I am John, but I suddenly got hugged by that lady. It was a fast hug, but she got back and held my shoulders. So it's you, we were waiting. Nurina told me so much about you." Her irritated look turned 180 degrees to beams of sparkle. This was fast even on Jullanar's crazy standard. "I'll tell her you came, hurry in." She ran inside smiling. For a second I felt my confidence getting a blow rather than being moved by the hug. I was using my charms, yet for some reason this woman was moved by the fact I am Nurina's son. This is tough. I took a breath to calm myself, but I remembered Jullanar, who was laughing at me. Let's see how she looks now. As expected, she was taking some time to comprehend what happened. Hee. I giggled and slipped the finger at her. Going through the door, I could see a beautiful entranceway with flower pots on each side. Walking ahead and turning slightly to the right was a large room full of furniture. It has a big round window that its bars were shaped into the insignia of the college. The room had 3 beautiful ladies. The one I just met and a Faralda, who somehow magically merged into a helpless-looking Nurina. "What's up?" I said while grinning at Nurina. Nurina's expressions were dark and she looked at me while murmuring something. "Traitor!" "Huh? Sorry?" "Traitor! Scoundrel!" A stream of cursing assaulted me alongside anything her hands could reach to throw at me. "Lonath, hold him down," Nurina said to the other Dunmare lady. Her name was Lonath, huh? Where did I hear that name before? I have little recollection of the name. Was she from a mod? Never mind that now. I caught all the stuff Nurina threw at me. The chaos continued for a while until Lonath called it off. By some miracle, she could separate Faralda from Nurina. What a capable woman! Can you act with some sanity around here? She was also scolding Faralda. I am taking 15 years' worth of snuggle. With interest. Faralda was still ready for another round. As for Nurina, who ran behind some table. Never seen that side of hers before. Look now. We have some students here, act with some dignity. Lonath gave a lecture. Now, you have a report to write and a class to manage. Let's go before Mirabelle joins the mess. The very capable Lonath dragged Faralda out and left the chambers. Who remained were me, Nurina and Jullanar, who just followed in. Stinkin' brat. You sell your old mother out to that walking tower of snuggling and come to laugh at it. Nurina was glaring at me. I could help but smile wryly. She became lively again. Seriously, you can't blame me. I mean, she was sniffing after you in the corridor. You should have covered your scent. I said that after looking around for a place to sit. Sigh. This is my fault. Nurina shivered when I said the thing about Faralda tracking her by scent. How did you guys get along that well anyway? I asked helplessly. Nurina looked at me, then walked to a chair, then sat while holding a mug. That's some coffee from the smell. Long ago, before the Great Collapse, I was just a scholar here and Faralda was a new student that came from Somerset. She said, "What do you think would make an Altmere girl leave her home that is famed for its magic and come to Skyrim? Good weather, friendly locals, tasty food." I started to mention Skyrim's features. Faralda had no class or status in Somerset. She was talented but poor as most of the students who come here. Nurina said, "I taught her and she was a good learner, so I doted her for a while, maybe more than I should. Never thought she would be a pervert." It's okay as long as nothing weird is involved. So why did you leave her with no connection for 15 years? I asked. I went for Riften to test some spells with some of the hags who followed the old ways for many years. I wanted to reach a way to find the soul cairn and conjure creatures from it, but I was delayed when some friend asked me to adopt you, she said. This is the first time she speaks about my adoption. But why did you work in an orphanage then? I was curious. I told you before. No one would suspect the friendly orphanage headmistress to be a mage on a fieldwork, she said. Back then was a post-war period and any stranger was being suspected of being a spy. She is right. Anyway, who is that girl? That's Jullanar. I hired her to be my maid. Nurina raised her brows. Really? How did you meet her? She was an assassin hired to kill me by Sibby Blackbriar. Nurina lagged. She looked at the girl that glared at her. I could feel Jullanar shuddering from the killing aura Nurina made just now. You don't need to be like that. You see, things happen like this, and I started telling her about what happened in Solitude. After listening, Nurina was amazed more. You killed an assassin, killed 3 thugs and then killed Sibby, son of Maven. Nurina exclaimed, boy. I look away from you and you already killed some people and lost your virginity. Mama approves. Thank you. I was appreciating her approval, but something felt wrong. Ahem. What is that thing about my virginity? I felt like I heard the word. Stinkin' brat. You thought I wouldn't notice. Nurina smiled evilly at me. We'll talk about that. Alone. Crap. This won't end well. Just like that time when I held Akra's tail. Anyway, I brought you the stuff you needed. Jull, bring it in. Jullanar took the chance to escape from Nurina's presence. After a while of talking, Nurina already made me confess everything. She was impressed by the magica cultivation, but said it would need a lot more than just that to be an effective training. So, what do you research now? I asked to get some space from her questions. Did you see Lonath just now? She is our mysticism department new addition and will be your teacher. I let her see some of your ideas and she took a liking to them. Nurina said, we started a little project on some documents our friends have liberated from an old research facility that belonged to Lord Corvus Durrani. Corvus Durrani. I was amazed and stood up. The famous conjurer from the First Era? The first mage to combine the bound and conjure aspects in one spell. I yelled. That's him. Nurina joined my excitement. We are going through his documents, but it's heavily coded. The best one I know who can solve codes is you. Ready for what's coming? Just say it. I was dying from anticipation. These documents may contain his work of forcing the Atranax to take different forms. Nurina said. Amazing. Every conjurer heard the stories of Lord Corvus Durrani summoning Atranax in the shape of a horse, a camel or even a bear. So you are saying that we can finally change the Atronax to any form we like? I asked. Do you have a form in mind? Nurina asked. Hee. This will be crazy. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.